21-year-old student Ben Ahrens is suing 18-year-old college football player Brian Payton for beating him up during a night of heavy drinking. Adam Spear has a separate lawsuit against Ben Ahrens for vandalism to his car.
Now, this is case number 50 on the calendar, the matter of Ahrens versus Payton. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. You folks have a seat, please.
All right, Mr. Ahrens, it is your claim that Mr. Payton assaulted you.
Correct.
There is sort of a companion case here that I will address either during this case or at some point immediately after, involving a Mr. Spear. Is that you?
That's correct.
And you weren't actually there during the course of this whole event, but you allege your car got damaged by Mr. Ahrens while he was drunk. When did this assault take place, sir?
The assault itself occurred at 3 o'clock in the morning. I was with my friends.
I need a date, sir.
December 18th.
12/18/04.
Correct.
Where were you?
I was in the parking lot of the Hilton Hotel, located in Corvallis, Oregon.
What were you doing there?
My friend had a party right next door. It was his birthday party.
And what time had you arrived at the party?
10 o'clock.
How many people were there?
Roughly 8.
A lot of drinking.
Yes, we were all over 21.
I didn't ask how old you were. I said there was a lot of drinking.
Yes, there was a lot of drinking.
What were you drinking, Ben?
I was drinking Miller Lite.
Nothing other than beer.
Correct.
And what happens?
We were outside, out front. There's a fence separating his house and the parking lot. And we were out front there. I was with my friends, Jason. Well, they're actually acquaintances. About 3 girls came out of the Hilton Hotel. At that point, we called over to them to come over and talk to us. So they came over to where we were.
What did you say to them?
I don't exactly remember exactly what we said, but we said, hi, what's going on tonight? What are you guys doing at the Hilton? At that point, approximately 3 to 4 men came out of the hotel and immediately came over to where we were. Mr. Payton targeted me specifically, and he started going after me. I could tell he wanted to fight. He was very aggressive towards me.
Well, tell me what he did, sir.
He said as soon as he came out of the hotel, he said that he saw me looking at him and saluting in a Hitler-like way. I don't know what he was talking about.
Do you know what he's talking about, Mr. Payton?
I know exactly what he's talking about.
What is he talking about, Mr. Payton?
When I walked out of the hotel, we walked over to the young ladies, and they seemed upset, so I walked over and asked him to stop, and he was on the other side of the fence, and he gave me one of those.
Can I interject at this point?
What were you doing at the Hilton Hotel that evening?
The dorms were closed at our university, and I was staying there for a school function.
Okay. And what time had you started drinking that night?
I'm 18 now, I didn't drink.
Okay, Ben. So you're outside.
And I'm speaking with my friends. It becomes a verbal altercation at that point. So I came over to the fence.
So you jumped over the fence?
Correct, yes.
Why didn't you just go home like you were planning to go?
I wasn't planning on going home that night.
Well, what were you doing outside, Ben?
We were just out front of his house so that we didn't wake up his friends.
I don't understand that, Ben. You were outside because you were making too much noise to be inside?
That would be correct, yes. At that point, I explained to him what I was doing.
What did you mean you explained to him? What does that mean, I explained to him?
I told him, I repeated the motion of this. I told him that's the only thing I could have possibly done at that point when he came outside. I told him that. He said, okay, that's all right. And then we shook hands. We exchanged names. We asked them what they were doing, and they said they were going to go and get beer and food. So they got in their car, and they took off. They came back about 10 minutes later, maybe 15 minutes later, and we were still outside.
What were you doing outside, Ben?
We were just sitting on the curb. There's a curb, we were just sitting there. We were just talking amongst ourselves.
Go ahead.
The 3 girls that were with them, I believe they went straight into the hotel, or
Because they didn't want to talk to you anymore.
I don't know if they didn't want to talk to us anymore, or if they were just
They didn't want to talk to you anymore. They went right inside.
They went inside.
Go ahead.
Payton and his friends, they stayed with us out there, and we talked. And at that point, there became a verbal altercation between Mr. Payton and one of the witnesses, Brown. And I believe it was over food. I believe he asked them if they brought him any food back.
Where is Mr. Brown?
Mr. Brown is unable to come.
So he's not a witness?
Okay.
Because he's not here.
Okay.
So Mr. Brown, one of your friends, asked Mr. Payton...
Well, he wasn't my friend, he was my acquaintance.
Your acquaintance?
Correct.
On your curb?
Yes.
Asked Mr. Payton how come they didn't bring him back any food?
Yes.
You think that was because Mr. Brown maybe had a little too much to drink?
Possibly, yes.
Keep going.
So at that point, there was a verbal altercation between him and Mr. Payton, and I believe Jason might have gotten involved in it a little bit. At that point, I got up and I got in between them, and I pushed them aside, and then I'm not sure exactly what he did. That's about where my memory ends. Shortly after that point, it was because he had struck me to the face. I received a massive concussion. I have photos here if you'd like at this time. You can take a look at that. I fell back, I hit the concrete. I lost about 1.5 pints of blood. You can see my cheek there. It was possibly dislocated.
Looked like you fell back really hard.
Yes. At that point, I had a concussion. I do not remember anything from that point
Good.
on.
Now, Brian.
Yes.
Let's hear it.
Like you said, the young ladies did come out the...
Why don't we start with the young lady?
Oh, okay then.
Because you weren't there. The young lady was there first. Is
Can I
that right?
interject at this point?
No.
Okay.
You came out at some point of the Hilton Hotel.
Yes. Ben and his friends were yelling at us and
What were they yelling?
to come over and like what were our names, and we could tell that they were very intoxicated. And then the boys came out and were like, these guys won't leave us alone. They keep yelling at us and they're very intoxicated. And so I believe that Brian asked them to leave us alone.
Did you go out with Brian and his friends for some food? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be a yes.
Yes.
What happened when you came back?
We got out of the car and they started yelling and stuff like that, and then Ben started beating the car. And the car alarm...
Whose car was it?
Mine, Your Honor.
Your car. He started beating with what? With his fists?
Mm-hmm. And the car alarm was going off. All of us actually asked him numerous times to stop it, and he wouldn't. Brian went up to him to get him to stop, and Ben turned around really fast and his fist came up, and so Brian obviously felt threatened if he was beating the car this much, and so Brian hit him, and he fell back on the ground and hit his head.
Okay. The police were called?
Yes.
You have the police report?
I have the police report,
I'd
and
like
if
to
there's
see it,
something I could
please.
say. The police
also
interviewed
have-
all the witnesses.
I'd like to see both police reports, and Ben, I can read. You don't have to tell me what it says.
Can I just point one out thing, though, please?
Yes?
They interviewed all the witnesses there, and they took down their names. Her name's nowhere in the police report. I'd like
Well,
that.
it may not be in the police report, but did they take down the names of the 3 girls who were...
No, they did not.
Well, so?
I don't recognize her at all. I'm not sure who she is. They interviewed everyone who was there at the time
Listen
of the
to me.
incident.
You were so blind drunk, not a question in my mind, that you wouldn't know her if she came up and bit you in the behind. You said there were 3 girls that came out. It's my job to ascertain who tells the truth and who lies. She told a very cogent story. There is no reason to say that she's lying about being one of the 3 girls that came out that night that spoke to you.
Why didn't the police interview her then?
I have no idea, sir. I have enough trouble figuring out why I'm here.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
We were drinking, him included. He started picking a fight. I can quote him on, I can kick 2 of your guys' right now.
Hands off your hips.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ben Aaron says, during a night of partying, he was assaulted by college football player Brian Payton. Brian says Ben was drunk and out of control. In a separate lawsuit, Adam Spear is suing Ben Aarons for denting his car.
How did you get the injuries to your hands, sir? How did you get the injuries?
I didn't have any injuries on my hands.
I noted that Mr. Aarons had injuries to both of his hands. He had abrasions and red marks on his fingers that were consistent with him striking something.
This is the photograph of the injury to my hands. This is the dent that my hands allegedly
That's
created.
one hand. I'll take a look at it. Absolutely.
If you look in the report, it says injuries to both hands.
Right.
If there is injury to both hands, you would see it. The only thing that photo shows is a red strap mark from where I was strapped into the stretcher. You can see that.
No. Police officer noted, sir, that there were massive dents on a car. That would be Mr. Spear's car. And the police officer said to you, did you strike that car? And you said, I don't remember. That was the answer that you gave to the police.
Correct.
Police also said that in addition to beer, you drank liquor.
Yes.
That's what you told the police.
Okay, yes.
You didn't remember to tell me that.
I'm sorry.
Police officer also noted that you and your friends were all drunk. Right?
Correct.
Okay, good.
Could I interject with one more thing, please? I have a medical report from when I was there. They did a full body analysis on me. There's nothing in there about any injury to my hands. The only thing I could have imagined that he would have seen is I have a medical injury.
Let me explain something to you, sir. You hit his car. You were drunk, and you fisted his car. You may not remember it, but that's what you did. That's what happens when you drink too much. Then,
Allegedly, yes.
that's what happens when you drink too much, sir. You act goofy and stupid. You try to pick up girls that don't want to have anything to do with you. You hang around where you shouldn't be hanging around outside. And you act goofy and stupid, and you get yourself into trouble when you drink too much. Isn't that right?
Not entirely, no.
Well, you were acting goofy and stupid, too, according to the police report. All of his friends were drunk.
Oh, does
Your
it
Honor?
specify my name in there?
Were you at the party?
Yes, I was.
And you weren't drunk.
They didn't take individual
I
statements.
didn't ask you that question, sir. I said,
I was drinking, but I was not drunk, Your Honor. I'm here for a reason. I'm not his friend. I met him that night.
Good.
I'm here because I can remember things. Everybody else there was too wasted.
Why? She wasn't wasted.
Huh? I'm talking
This
at the
young,
party
just
that we were
listen.
there.
This young lady isn't wasted, sir.
And you know what? She also wasn't there at the moment of the assault.
Step up. Step up. Go ahead.
Kind of twisted that around a little bit. I'm not denying that he hit any car. I
Good.
didn't.
So let's start
Okay,
there.
let's start
there. He hit the car.
I did not see him hit the car, no.
So you weren't there the entire time.
No, I was outside most of the time. I was inside for maybe 3 minutes the whole time.
He was there when I actually got hit. And
I was there
claims-
and witnessed the assault.
Let's hear it.
Let's hear it. Okay.
Take your hands off your hips.
We were standing there having drinks. His friends and him among us had beer. They brought a case of beer. We were drinking, him included. He, Mr. Payton, was pretty hot-headed the whole time. The moment he came up, he started picking a fight with me and Brown, who's not here today. I can quote him on, you guys are pretty stupid. I don't want to hang out with you guys. I don't want to sit here and drink with you. I'm going back to my hotel. I can kick 2 of your guys right now. That set me, who's pretty hot-headed, if you can't tell, and Brown off. We kind of got up in his face, and he did the same. Some words were said. That's when Ben said he came up and tried to break up the thing. He went back to the hotel for a while with the girls. We still hung out with his 2 other friends. He came back out, and
Hands off your hips.
all right. He came back out. Some more words were said. Ben, at the time, was sitting on the curb drinking a beer. He stood up. Ben wasn't even looking at him. We were all talking. He walked over to Ben and cheap-shotted Ben in the jaw.
So after they left, instead of going back to the house, you stayed in the parking lot. You remember why?
It's a place to sit. We were there already. I can just stay where I want, I believe. It's not against the law.
I love it when it all comes together. Just let him talk. Right?
That's what you do best.
Mr. Payton,
Yes.
here's your problem, sir. Your problem is the statement that you made to the police. And the sum and substance of that statement was that he was loud and obnoxious and drunk.
Yes.
And he kept hitting on Mr. Spear's car.
Correct.
And you told him to stop. And he walked away, and he came back and he hit the car again. And then you hit him.
That's basically yes what happened. I didn't intentionally walk to him to hit him. Like I came back around the vehicle because I walked through the back of the vehicle towards the Hilton.
Whatever. Let me tell you what you said to the police,
Okay.
Mr. Payton. You said to the police, I told him to knock it off. Mr. Payton said that he started to walk away twice, and each time Mr. Aarons began striking the vehicle again. Mr. Payton said that he told Mr. Aarons one last time to quit striking the vehicle, and when he failed to stop, he hit him.
Yeah.
I asked Mr. Payton how many times he hit Mr. Aarons, and he said twice. And that you struck him both times in the face.
Yes.
And you said you were shocked that he fell down because you didn't think you'd hit him that hard. Well, but he was drunk.
Yeah.
Now you can stand up. I'm going to hear this other case. You want to get that folder now because I don't have to hear it twice. I've just heard the facts of the case. This is Spear against Aarons.
Case number 49.
Very good. You have an estimate for the damage to your car?
Yes, I do.
May I see it, please?
Would you like the court fees that it's been costing me?
No, just the damage to the car.
Yes, ma'am.
Who's Mr. Norris? Is he a friend of yours?
Yes.
Okay. Let me tell you what Mr. Norris told the police. It says in the police report, this is the interview. Mr. Norris stated that after Mr. Payton told Mr. Aarons 3 different times to stop hitting the car, he walked up and struck him in the face.
Yeah, I'm not denying that I hit him.
You can't do that. Brian, you can't do that. Now, do you have any unreimbursed medical bills, sir?
Yes, sir. Or ma'am.
Hand them up. These are all unreimbursed medical bills, is that right?
Correct.
You had no insurance.
My insurance was denied, yes. No insurance.
You go to school full time?
Yes, ma'am.
You have a job?
No, ma'am.
Better get one. You can't hit somebody because they're damaging property. He has over $5,000 in unreimbursed medical bills. You have to take care of that. I say this to you, sir, that I think you behaved badly that night, but for the fact that this young man had no right to hit you. Believe me, you would leave here today without a judgment. But the law is clear. You cannot defend somebody else's property with physical violence. So I'm awarding you your judgment of $5,000. You are entitled to that. On your claim, I'm awarding you a judgment against Mr. Arans, for $1,500 so that you can fix your car. Anything you want to say to me?
I have right here a list of all the instances where people were hit by OSU football players in the past several months here, and I believe that this shows that there's a lot of animosity from athletes who are out of line and out of control. This happened at 3 a.m. past curfew.
Listen to me, sir. I have no particular axe to grind. I don't even like athletes. What I don't like are young people who get so drunk that they can't remember what's happened. According to the police, according to the doctor, you reeked of alcohol, you had no memory of the assault because you were drunk. Because if you had had any kind of negative vibes with them during the course of the evening, and if you were sober, I can't believe you would be stupid enough to sit in the parking lot of the hotel where they were staying, not you. That's what you keep wanting to answer me, sir, and I'm telling you, that's what happens when you're drunk and stupid. Bad things happen. That doesn't mean he had the right to assault you. It just means that your actions, your purposeful actions in consuming too much alcohol was the proximate cause of all of these events that spiraled out of control that night. And if that's the way you can consume your alcohol, I suggest to you that you don't drink anymore. This case is over. Thank you.
Parties are excused and they step out.
Is suing her daughter's boyfriend, 19-year-old warehouse worker Daniel Coons, for damage to her car and for stealing money from 2 bank accounts.
Your Honor, this is case number 82 on the calendar in the matter of Hoffman versus Coons. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Ms. Hoffman, is this your daughter?
Yes, ma'am.
Is she still seeing Mr. Coons?
Yes, Your Honor.
So I assume she's not happy being here today.
You're correct.
It is your claim, Ms. Hoffman, that Mr. Coon forged some checks of yours.
Correct.
And also took money out of your daughter's account.
Correct.
In addition to that, he had an accident while driving your car. Mr. Coon says, well, he acknowledges that he did forge some checks of yours, but he says that he paid you back that money in restitution by working for you. And he didn't steal as much as you claim he stole, and aside from that, he says your daughter knew all about it. And as far as taking money out of her account, she was aware of that. And as far as the car incident was concerned, your daughter knew he didn't have a valid driver's license. He had a suspended driver's license, so she gave him permission to drive the car, and therefore he's not responsible. Correct?
Correct.
Tell me about the car incident, sir.
I went down to the store. I was driving through the parking lot, and a lady backed out. And she actually bumped into me, and I got out, made sure everything was okay. She said it doesn't look like any damage is done here. And I was all, here's my number, we exchanged numbers. And I said, if there's any further problems, call me. And that was it.
Why should she call you if she backed into you?
I just told her to call me because if it was, we wanted to exchange insurance information later on.
I don't understand why she should call you. She backed into you.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I said. I told her, I was like, you know, you backed out. I honked the horn. Basically, everything's all right. There was no damage done.
Was there any damage done to the car?
Yes, there was damage. I have proof that there was damage. And the thing was, he didn't even call and tell me that he backed in. He just, what happened was...
Can I see the pictures, please?
Yes. The other company called me, and that's how I found out.
The other company called you because she was filing a claim?
She filed a claim, yes. Wait.
She filed a claim? How could she file a claim? She, according to him, backed into him.
She said that he backed into her. So I
Where was the damage to your car?
Underneath the bumper.
Mr. Coons, when did you notify Ms. Hoffman that there had been this little accident?
I didn't notify her.
Okay. Now let's get back to your defense to this action. Your defense to this action is that you had a suspended driver's license, but your girlfriend knew about it when she gave you the car to go to the store.
Yeah. I was just going to run to the store, get some things at the store, and come right back. Your house is like half a mile from the store.
Why was your driver's license suspended?
For traffic tickets that I failed to appear on.
What kind of tickets?
Like 2 speeding tickets.
And?
And a red light violation.
So you're not a good driver?
I'm a good driver.
No, you're not. They don't take away the license of good drivers.
Yeah.
How many accidents?
Driving a car on a suspended license is...
Illegal.
That's not something that Christina could wave a wand and do away with. That's only something that you have control over, Mr. Coons.
I didn't think it was a big deal, though, just to run down to the store.
It is a big deal, you idiot. When they say you can't drive, they don't say you can't drive except to go down to the store.
True.
Now, just for my own curiosity, sir, what is it that you had to get that was so important at the store? Insulin?
No,
What?
just some stuff for dinner.
Your Honor,
Just don't say. Does it look like you're losing? Oh, does it look like you're losing so far? What?
I was going to...
Can I tell you something? Christina,
Yes.
he's still your boyfriend?
Yes.
He's an idiot. Maybe you're an idiot. I don't know if you're an idiot or not, but he's an idiot. And if you're going to hitch your wagon to his star, you're going to have a miserable life.
No, Your Honor.
What? Listen to me, Christina. Your mother's been around for a while,
Yes.
right? You've been married,
Yes, ma'am.
divorced?
Yes.
How many times?
Once.
Once. Been there, done that a couple of times. Been in the family court years. I got a nose. You hitch your wagon to this star, you're going to have a miserable life. Just think about it. 10 years from now, you're going to say, you know, I appeared before Judge Judy in this silly little case that was on television, and she, put your hand down, and she told me if I hitched my wagon to his star, I was going to have a miserable life. She was right. Just listen to me. I don't know about you. You may be a loser too. Then maybe you belong together. Maybe two halves make a whole. I don't know. But if you certainly don't look it. How much is it going to cost to fix the bumper?
$971.
Good, $971. Now, Mr. Coons, explain to me why you took checks from Miss Hoffman and forged her name and cashed them.
I started hanging out with the wrong crowd, doing some stupid stuff, and I needed a bunch of cash.
Hanging around with a bad crowd doesn't mean you need cash. If you're hanging around with a bad crowd and you buy drugs and owe somebody for money for the drugs, and you need cash for that, otherwise somebody's going to break your knees, that's a reason. So you want to explain to me what you needed this money for?
Basically, I got into drugs, and I needed cash to support it. And then after that...
Were you supporting Christina's drug habit too?
No, I'd never get into that.
Did Christina know you were doing drugs?
Nope.
So she's not very intuitive, right?
Nope.
You managed to conceal that from her,
Yep.
right? How did I know that, Mr. Coons? It's not anywhere in these papers, sir. Did you think that maybe I have a crystal ball?
Yep.
Experience. That's what I'm trying to tell Christina. How much money did he steal from you?
$1,320 out of my account.
I don't care what he took out of Christina's account. If Miss Stupid wants to stay with him, she'll deal with that.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What kind of drugs?
Oxycontin?
Why in the world would an attractive girl like you want to hook up with him?
Because I love him.
And later today,
How much child support do you pay for your other child?
None.
Why not?
I do for my other son, as well as I do for Michael while he's staying with his father here.
Don't talk to me with attitude. There's only one attitude here, and that's mine.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Donna Hoffman says her daughter's boyfriend, Daniel Coons, stole money from her and her daughter's bank accounts. Donna says Daniel took the money to support his OxyContin habit.
When did you find out that he took money out of your account?
Maybe a couple weeks or a month later.
Come. Stand up next to your mother, Christina. Here we go. How much did he take out of your account?
I think it was $650.
And you didn't find out that he took the money out of your account until after he took it out?
No, it bounced in my account.
So you didn't know he had done it?
No.
When you confronted him about it, what did he say, Christina?
He told me about it.
Well, what did he tell you?
That he bounced checks in my account.
No, what did he tell you? Come on. You just said to him, where'd you get the money from? Where did you get the checks from? What did you use the money for? Those were the intelligent questions, Christina. And what did he tell you?
He told me what he used it for and why he
was
needed
what?
it. Drugs.
What kind of drugs?
Oxycontin.
And after you found out that the checks bounced, did he take any other money out of your account?
No, Your Honor.
Is that right, sir?
Yep.
I just changed my mind. Because, Mr. Coons, in your answer you say that Christina here knew all about it, that she was aware of it. She says she wasn't. You know that?
She put the checks in her account, so that would... she knew about the checks going in her account, but not them bouncing.
Not that there were no funds.
Yeah, exactly.
But you knew.
Yep, I knew.
But you didn't tell her.
Yep.
Well, then you misled me, sir. You misled me in your answer. Your answer suggested that she was a co-conspirator. All right. So let's understand, Christina, who he is. He stole from your mother. He stole from you. He's a 19-year-old drug addict. He says you don't use drugs. Is that true?
Yes, it is.
Why in the world would an attractive girl like you want to hook up with him?
Because I love him.
The uniform groans out here, Christina. The uniform groans out here, Christina.
Your Honor, he's cleaned up also.
What are you doing now, Mr. Coons?
My uncle owns a trucking company. I'm trying to get my Class A license to drive for him.
That doesn't tell me what you're doing now.
Moving. He owns a moving company.
That doesn't tell me what you're doing now.
I'm cleaning my act up. Making money.
So you want to be a mover?
Yeah, a driver.
What are you doing, Christina?
I work at Express and I'm a cosmetologist.
Is that what you want to do?
Hair? Yes, I do.
You living home?
Yes, I do.
Remember to take those pills every morning. Every morning. Maybe you'll wake up in time. Mr. Coons, did you go into a residential drug treatment program?
Yep.
For how
Yes.
long?
10 days.
That's a crash course, sir. That's a crash course. Did the program recommend that you go into residential treatment for a period of 18 months or whatever and stick with it?
Yeah, that's what they recommended, but...
And you decided that you didn't need that. Is
Yeah,
that right?
That's right.
And you decided that you didn't need that despite the fact that you had stolen from Miss Hoffman, you stole from your girlfriend, you have half a dozen unresolved driving infractions, you had an accident with a car. All of those things don't suggest to you that maybe the professionals that told you a 10-day crash course doesn't make it. When you are so addicted to drugs, maybe instead of fooling around, you should go into a residential drug treatment program. But you knew better than the professionals, is that right?
Yep.
Good girl, Christina. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $2,941. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
The bank called me and said this doesn't look like your signature, so I, of course, called him up and said, hey, what's going on?
She couldn't believe it. And then I was like, you know, I had to admit it right there.
I was saying, you know what, I think something's wrong. I think he's on drugs, and we started drug testing him, and he actually admitted to it.
I want to get married and have kids and do everything, you know, stay clean, do the right thing.
Yes, as he's been together for a very long time.
I would really hope that he would clean up, but I've told her that, you know what, once they start being like this, they're never going to change.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of McLean versus Clark. Step forward, please.
Meat cutter Michael McLean is suing the mother of his son, nurse Lachelle Clark, for the return of child support. Michael says money was taken from his paycheck while their son was living with him.
Mr. McLean, you and the defendant have a son together.
Yes, I do, ma'am.
And it is your claim that your son was living with you for a period of time at his mother's request.
Yes, ma'am.
And during that time, they were taking child support out of your check.
Yes,
And Miss Clark knew that the child was living with you, and she was the only one that could stop this child support
Yes, ma'am.
payment. She did not, and you want her to pay you back the money that you sent, or that
Yes,
was
ma'am.
taken out of your check, for your son while he was living with you.
yes. I wanted her to stop it immediately.
And Miss Clark says, well, it was only temporary, and she was providing some things for him also.
Yes.
Right? Okay. How old is this child?
He's 11.
And why did he go and live with his father, Miss Clark?
He went to live with his father because at the present time, my landlord went up on my rent $300 because I had lost.
You were having a problem with housing.
Excuse me?
You were having a problem with housing?
Yes.
All right, that's the bottom line.
Michael McLean says the mother of his son, Lachelle Clark, accepted child support payments after their son started living with him.
So when did you call Mr. McLean and ask if he could take your son?
Around the 1st of January when I first started having my housing problem.
And when did he actually go to live with his father?
The 28th of January.
Is he still there?
Yes.
And how much is the child support order, Mr. McLean?
I want to say $272
A month.
What do you do for a living, Mr. McLean?
I'm a meat cutter, meat manager.
How many children do you have?
I got 3.
Do any of them live with you? You have to think
no.
about that? None of them live with you.
No.
Do you pay child support for any other children?
Yes, I do.
And what do you do for a living, Miss Clark?
I'm a nurse.
How many children do you have?
2.
Well, I know one is living with Mr. McLean. Where is the other child?
The other one is with his father also.
How much child support do you pay for your other child?
None.
Why not?
What do you mean? Because me and him have understanding. This thing right here, I can't have
Just listen to me. Listen to me very carefully, Miss Clark.
I do for my other son, as well as I do for Michael while he's staying with his father here.
Well, listen to me. Don't talk to me with attitude. There's only one attitude here, and that's mine.
I will.
Listen to me very carefully, madam. There's only one attitude here. And Officer Bird will tell you that that attitude is mine. So let me give you a primer course in parenting. When two people have a child, it is the responsibility of both parents to support them. So that if while your son is living with his father and you buy him things, clothes,
and anything else he needs.
Just a second. Clothes, doctor's visits, extra school activities, sneakers, right? That's what you're supposed to do.
Okay.
You're also supposed to be responsible for your child's portion of his rent, gas, electric, food, telephone. That's what his father is taking care of. He's not supposed to be sending you money so that you can spend his money on clothes for your child. That's money that you're supposed to be paying out of the money you make from being a nurse. So when your son went to live with his father, the child support should have terminated. The truth of the matter is, while your son is living with his father, you should be paying his father child support. And if you're not paying child support to the father of your other child, when your other child's living there, you're doing the wrong thing too. So let's figure this out. There are 4.3 weeks in a month times 4. Oh, gotta turn it on first. 4.3 times 4. No, that's wrong.
Can I?
Yeah, you figured
His
it
child
out.
support was stopped in April.
What?
His support was stopped in April. We went to court about this matter.
It was stopped in April.
408.
April 8th, so we just need 2 months. So it's 272 times 2. $544.
That's right.
Where do you get $1,136 from?
I must have underestimated the cost of it, but I also wanted to where I had to go file for court.
I'm sure she had to go. I'm sure she had to go.
No, you
Don't speak to each other. You want to speak to each other? You do that outside. Here, you only speak to me. Okay. So let's say you had him for an additional 3 weeks. It's approximately $150. That would be $694 that you paid for support while he was living with you.
Yes.
Is she paying child support now? Did she pay you any child support in April or May?
No, she haven't.
Got away with murder. What you should have done is when you went in to have the child support stopped, you should have sued her for child support. Put your hand down. As long as the child is living with you, you have the right to sue for child support against the non-custodial parent. Stop, tap your fingers. You may not like the message, but don't kill the messenger. That's the law. Just like when your child is living with you, you sue the non-custodial parent. Just because he's the father doesn't mean you get a free ride. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $694. That's all.
Student Amber Hunting is suing fellow student, 21-year-old Daniel Rodriguez, for damaging 2 of her vehicles by kicking them. Daniel says Amber and her friends cheated on a poker hand.
Now, this is case number 91 on the calendar in the matter of Hunting versus Rodriguez. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat, please.
Miss Hunting, according to what I read, there was a poker game that was going on in your home?
Correct.
And the defendant was one of the participants in the game. There was some sort of a disagreement as to who had the winning hand. Defendant lost, and you claimed that in a tiff, when he left, he damaged your car. He says he didn't do it. How do you know him?
He is just a friend of a friend, and he was invited to my house by our mutual friend.
Do you have a regular poker game that goes on in your house?
No, it was just for fun.
How many people were there?
6.
Men or women?
There were 2 women and 4 men.
How many of the men did you know?
3 of them.
He was the only one you didn't know?
Correct.
What about the other woman?
She's my witness, Tristan.
So tell me what happened.
Well, it was August 27th, 2004, and we just had a gathering at my house of friends, and he came with our friend Robert, and I had no reservations about it. I was okay with that. And I think he had been drinking before he came over, but I still wasn't really concerned. He decided to participate in our game, and it had gone on for a good couple hours with no problems. We were all just hanging out having fun, no problems at all. And then when he had thought he won a hand and there was some questions about it, he kind of got defensive and aggressive when we tried to tell him otherwise. And he got angry at us, and he started calling names and pushing people and getting up and getting violent.
So what happened next?
Well, we tried to break it up. He tried to fight my boyfriend. He was calling names. He picked up a bike and actually threw it across the deck and bruised my friend's arm. I have a picture.
Did you do that?
No, ma'am.
Why would she make up such a story?
I don't know. I can't
Did you
really
lose a hand in
speculate.
poker?
No, ma'am. I still remember the hand.
Well, was there some sort of a dispute as to whether you won?
Yes, ma'am.
So you won the game,
Yes, ma'am.
and then they told you you lost the game and couldn't take the money.
Actually, her boyfriend had agreed that I won, and then she jumped in the middle, tried to read his card, said, no, you won, look at your hand. He looked, and then he agreed, tried to take the money. But he already called the wrong hand. He called a hand lower than mine. I started taking the money down. He kept trying to argue with me. She kept jumping in the middle. I admit I did call her, but it wasn't really directed towards her. It was like, I don't want to hear what any have to say when two men are playing the game. It's our money, it's our game. No one else is in the game.
The women weren't playing?
No, they already lost.
Sorry.
They already lost all their money. So there's only
but
three
the women
people
had
left.
been playing,
Yes, ma'am.
and you did play with the women.
Yes, ma'am.
So it wasn't as if you don't want to play with women, that it wasn't
Oh,
just
no.
a man's game.
No, we were all playing. They lost. There were three of us left.
And nothing happened with the bicycle.
No, there was a bike in the way, but I was getting pulled out of their house, and I bumped into a bike. I never picked a bike up, threw it, or anything like that.
Okay, then according to you, Miss Hunting, Mr. Rodriguez damaged your car when he left. How did he damage your car?
He damaged 2 vehicles. He was inside, and it took a good 15 minutes to get him calmed down. We were trying to calm him down. He wouldn't calm down. So he was physically removed from my house
How was he physically removed?
by our friend Robert.
Is that right?
Yeah, he escorted me out of the house.
He pulled you out?
Yes, ma'am.
You didn't want to leave?
No, her boyfriend had tried to start a fight with me, so I stood up. We were in a fight, and then he didn't want to fight, and then her mom came in, said we're going to call the police. Told her to call the police, you know. They're trying to rob me of my money.
So you still felt as if you were owed that money
Yes,
in the
ma'am.
pot. So you didn't want to leave without your money.
No, ma'am.
So you were pulled out by Robert.
Yes, ma'am.
And what happened when you were pulled out, Mr. Rodriguez?
Well, he pulled me out, but right before the door closed, I said, look, you know, I'll leave, but I want my money, at least the money I put into the pot in the beginning. They went and got my money. He gave it to me. He walked to his car and got in and left.
Who walked to the car?
Me and Robert.
Robert was the one who had brought you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Who was a friend of yours?
Yes, ma'am.
Is he still a friend of yours?
Yeah.
You see him?
Yeah. He lives on the same street, so yeah, we saw each other.
And you claim that he damaged cars when he left. Do you have any witness? Did you see him do that?
I actually have Robert here as a witness.
Really? Bring him in. And Robert is your friend.
Yes, ma'am.
So Robert wouldn't lie for her.
I can't speak on that. He's intimate with her friends, so a lot of people do a lot of things when they're with somebody.
I don't think that's important.
Swear the witness, please.
Raise your right hand, sir. Do you swear to tell the truth in these matters?
Yes, I do.
State your name for the record, please.
Robert Silva.
Mr. Silva, Mr. Rodriguez says that you're a friend of his. Is that right?
That's correct.
How long have you known him?
About 15, 16 years.
You invited him to a party on the 27th of August at Miss Hunting's home. Is that right?
Yes.
You were playing poker?
Yes.
And there was some sort of a dispute over a winning hand. We're getting past that. Did you see an incident involving Mr. Rodriguez and a bicycle?
No.
Didn't see him pick up or toss a bicycle?
No.
Did you remove him from the house?
We walked out together.
You didn't pull him out of the house?
Pull, no. I was just, he wasn't done talking, and I think we were done talking, so I said it was time to go.
Now, when he left the house, can you describe what happened, sir?
I told him to leave, and I went to go close the door.
Look at me when you're talking.
And on the way out, I seen him kick Amber's car on the way out.
How many cars did you see him kick?
I only seen him kick Amber's car.
Did you say anything to him when you finally caught up to him?
No.
You didn't say, why did you kick Amber's car?
It's too late. It doesn't matter why. I couldn't stop it.
Oh, no. That's their witness. They say
That's their witness, sir,
they
but
say
your
I
friend
kicked-
for 17 years.
Oh, yes, ma'am. But it just seems fugazi to me because...
What?
It seems a little funny to me because they said I threw a bicycle. He didn't see it.
No,
They
he
say
didn't see
I kicked
that.
2 cars, and he only seen me kick 1. I don't know. The story seems wrong.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Just want to make sure that you think I'm fair. Not that it's really important to me what you think, but I want you to start doing a little thinking.
And later today,
Were you annoyed that she went back to her husband?
No, Your Honor.
Well, then if you weren't annoyed, why don't you do the right thing?
Yes, you said lack of communication.
Lack of character is more like it.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Amber Hunting says acquaintance Daniel Rodriguez vandalized 2 of her cars after an argument over a poker game. Amber has produced a surprise eyewitness.
Did you call the police immediately?
As soon as I saw the damage to the vehicles, I went inside.
Was
and
that
called
the same
police.
day, the 27th of August?
Yes.
Can I see the police report, please? How old are you, Miss Hunting?
21.
You live at home with your folks?
With my mother.
And this is your mom?
Yes.
Who, if I called her as a witness, would testify about a lot of bad language that she heard, and she said she was going to call the police, correct?
Correct.
You have photographs of the vehicles?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see them, please. Well, the detective who responded saw the following, Mr. Rodriguez. He saw the damage to the cars. The issue is really, was this old damage, new damage? But let me tell you what the police officer wrote. Second vehicle, 1997 Ford Escort, belonged to Amber's mother, Doreen Hunting. I noticed a circular dent near the driver's side door and chipped paint around the dent. I located several pieces of the chipped paint on the ground, directly below the dent on the door. So you know what that suggests to me, Mr. Rodriguez?
New damage.
Very smart. Now, who do you think had a motive to be angry that night?
I did.
And whose dear friend who invited them to this party says it was you who caused the damage?
Mine.
Mr. Rodriguez, if you were sitting in my place, would you think that I caused the damage?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Just want to make sure that you think I'm fair.
But
not
I
that
also
it's,
would
not
think
that it's
that-
really important to me what you think, but I want you to start doing a little thinking. What are the estimates to fix these two dents?
$1,893.
Together.
Yes.
That's a bargain. So not only didn't you win, sir, at poker that night, but your temper is going to cost you $1,893. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think it was drunkenness and nobody was really listening to each other, and emotions run high when drinking is involved.
There were a bunch of people playing a game of poker who were too drunk to know how to really play.
It wasn't that big of a deal till my vehicles were damaged.
They were talking, they wanted to call the police, wanted to fight.
He was my friend's friend. I didn't think it was necessary. I had hoped that he would calm down.
Told him to call the police. I thought it was a good idea.
I just wanted to handle it right and take care of it, but he denied it.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
It's no big deal, you know. I've known him 15 years. It's just one night.
Thank you for showing up and taking care of everything, and I'm glad everything's over with.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Kerr versus Guthrie. Step forward, please.
26-year-old account manager Lisa Kerr is suing her ex-boyfriend, Private Eye Gary Guthrie, for a loan to buy a spy cell phone. Gary says the spy equipment was a gift.
Ms. Kerr, who is this?
This is my witness, my friend Lindsay.
Mr. Guthrie, who is this?
This is my brother Adam in witness.
This is the situation as I understand it. You and Mr. Guthrie dated briefly. Was it a time he was separated from your husband?
Yes, ma'am.
And for some strange reason, according to you, Mr. Guthrie, who needed some spy equipment, that's your business, you're in security, surveillance, and you agreed to put it on your credit card, this piece of equipment that he saw that he liked. And you did. According to you, he said he was going to pay for it. The piece of equipment came, you and Mr. Guthrie no longer an item. Mr. Guthrie says that the spy equipment doesn't work.
Correct.
So he's not paying for it, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
If it worked, were you going to pay for it?
Well,
Well is not an answer, Mr. Guthrie.
I
If it
assumed it
worked,
was-
listen to me very carefully, sir. If it worked, were you going to pay for it? Just a second. The questions get harder. What's your first name?
Gary.
Gary? Listen to me, Gary. Try not to play with me, sir, otherwise you're going to look like an idiot. If it worked, were you going to pay for it?
Yes, Your Honor.
That wasn't hard, was it, Gary?
No.
Did you actually think you were going to come here and make a fool out of me?
No.
So it didn't work. And you told the plaintiff it didn't work, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And so the company said, send it back to us, and while you're not going to get your money back, you can buy additional merchandise.
Or switch it out for another one that might work if it
Or
came.
switch it out.
Yes, ma'am.
And you understood that, right, Gary?
Yes, Your Honor.
See how mellow Gary is getting now? Gary gets it now. Because in Gary's answer, he thought he was being a wise guy, and he told me first it was a gift from her, that she bought him a gift. And then she changed her mind because she went back to her husband and they got this big bill, and that's why she's probably coming after him. That didn't ring true to me. So that's why I asked Gary if he was intending to pay her back for it if it worked. You understand, Gary? Then you bring along genius with you over here. Because the idea was, according to you, and you agree, that you were told to pack up the old equipment and send it back to the company. And you brought her over the box.
No, I didn't actually bring the box.
How did she get the box?
Through my brother.
He brought her the box.
Yes.
And she paid for sending it back.
That's correct.
Not you. She paid for sending it back. Now, genius, you can stand up.
Lisa Kerr says Ex-boyfriend Gary Guthrie owes for a loan to buy a spy phone. Gary claims the phone was broken and he tried to return it.
You got a first name?
Adam.
You didn't pack up the spy equipment, did you, Adam?
I was told.
Is not an answer.
I did pack up the equipment.
You did?
But I grabbed the wrong device, apparently.
What does that mean, genius?
When I gave it to Lisa and she'd shipped it off, they could tell her it was the wrong device. But I did not know because my brother was out of town. It was a phone call that told me to pack up the device.
What did you tell your brother to do?
I told him to grab my cell phone and pack it up to get to her.
Your cell phone? Well, that's not a spy piece of equipment that costs $3,400.
Well, if you've seen my other cell phones, you'd understand that I have a lot of cell phones and all my cell phones are pretty high-tech.
I somehow think, Adam, that this was a little scammy-whammy that was going on here, kids. You sent back the wrong thing. Did you send back the wrong thing?
Yes, by accident.
Ultimately, you found the device and it had not been sent back, right?
Correct.
When you found the device that had not been sent back, what was the first thing you did?
Well, I told her I obviously missed.
So the first thing you did was call her?
I tried to attempt to. I wasn't able to get in touch with her.
So you didn't call her?
Yes, once I found out it was the wrong device.
Well, then I want to know, what date did you find out it was the wrong device?
Mid-December, somewhere in the middle of December.
And when did you find out that they didn't receive the device?
It was right around December the 18th or 20th.
And when did Mr. Guthrie call you?
I actually never spoke with him about that until I had left to go on Christmas vacation, and I ended up breaking my leg. So I was out of commission for a few months, and I finally got a hold of him again in March.
So between December, when he found out that he did not give you the right piece of equipment, and March, are you telling me he never called you?
Not that I spoke with him, and not a message that I got from him, no.
So he never called?
No, ma'am.
As far as you know, he never called?
Right.
What did you do with the piece of equipment, Gary?
Well, come mid-April, we were fishing, and I was trying to get the device to work, which is the whole issue, how it didn't work. And out of frustration, it actually ended up in the lake.
So, Gary, who do you think ought to pay for this piece of equipment?
Well, my assumption, seeing that she didn't call me back for that period of time.
Didn't call you back? Did you send her a letter?
I didn't send a certified letter, Your Honor, no.
Did you send her back the piece of equipment and say, I'm sorry, my idiot brother made a mistake? The answer is no. The answer is you took the piece of equipment and you threw it in the lake. It's according to you. I don't know whether I believe you or not, but that's according to you. When did you throw it in the lake, Gary?
Let's see, April, mid-April.
So you could have done a lot of things. The first thing that you could have done was try her once on the phone. If I believed that, you couldn't get her in. So you packed the piece of equipment up and say, I'm sorry, this was a big mistake. That's in December. I'm going to bear the burden of sending it back to the company. I don't want you to send it back for another $70 because my brother doesn't know whether he's a foot or horseback, right? You chose not to do that, Gary. Were you annoyed that she went back to her husband? Huh?
No, Your Honor.
Well, then if you weren't annoyed that she went back to her husband, why don't you do the right thing?
Yes, you say lack of communication.
Lack of character is more like it. How much was it?
The original purchase was $3,035. The other items that he chose to replace it came to an additional $223. They wouldn't send me a return authorization.
Just a second, you mean you bought other stuff, Gary? Gary! Did you buy other stuff? You bought another $223 worth of stuff?
I was trying to exchange, yes.
You were trying to exchange it for the wrong piece of equipment that your brother sent back.
Something that actually worked.
Just a second. You bought some other stuff despite the fact that your brother sent back a bad cell phone instead of this piece of spy equipment.
I wasn't aware that he'd done that, Your Honor.
Well, did you send back the other stuff that you purchased for $223?
I never received it.
We never received it because we had to give them the list of the items that we wanted in replace of it. After we gave them that list, they gave us the return authorization. Once they received the phone, they were going to send the items. Well, they never received the phone.
So they never sent the items. Why? Then you shouldn't be charged for them.
But I have the email where it says we have to charge your card prior to even giving you the return
Then you have
authorization.
to call them and say you never sent those items. Do you understand? I'm not charging you for those. That you take up with the company. They never sent you the merchandise. They can't charge you.
I have done that. It's a company in Thailand. It's really the only way I can communicate with them is through email.
Well, then I would suggest that you be smarter next time and not deal with a company in Thailand and not deal with Gary
Understood.
and his brother. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,035. That's all.
Is suing his ex-girlfriend, 25-year-old receptionist Anne-Marie Burke, for having him falsely arrested for domestic violence twice. Anne-Marie says she stands by her charges.
That's case number 10 on the calendar in the matter of Selby versus Burke. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat, please.
Mr. Selby, the defendant is your former girlfriend. You have a child together, and it is your claim that she filed 2 cases against you for domestic violence, both of which were false. One she dropped, the next one she pursued. You were found not guilty, and you are suing her for those false charges. Ms. Burke says that you did, in fact, put your hands on her in a violent manner on both of those occasions, which is why she called the police.
Yeah.
How old is your child?
He's almost 2.
Do you have an order declaring you to be the father of this child?
No.
Why not?
My name's not on the birth certificate because she was married when my son was born, and I'm not legally considered the father.
He is. He went to court and said that he was the father in my divorce.
Okay. Well, he may have gone to say he was the father in your divorce, but has there been an adjudication of paternity in any court?
No, ma'am.
Oh, you are, sir. Listen to me very carefully. I have a surprise for you. You're going to be very happy to hear this. It says the third-party defendant, that was you, Jason Selby, that is your name, is it not?
Correct.
Is hereby established as the biological father of the minor child, Brendan Selby.
Okay.
We're going to get you a copy of this, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
You are the father. You have certain rights and certain responsibilities, Mr. Selby. It's interesting when I read your case, when I read your complaint, the defendant is now living in another area, so you haven't been seeing your son. How old was your son when you two separated?
It was about 1.5 years.
Okay. Now, Ms. Burke, I'm coming to you. When was the first instance of domestic violence which was the subject of a restraining order that you placed upon Mr. Selby?
September.
Okay, and tell me what happened in September of 2004.
He came.
Who was this, by the way?
This is the guy that used to live up front, our neighbor, Robert Menu.
And what is he now?
A witness to both.
Okay. This is not the boyfriend that he talks about, is that right?
It's not the boyfriend. He's never been my boyfriend.
But he came with you to court?
Right.
And you live in Florida?
Right.
And he flew with you from Florida?
Right.
Did you
Yes.
stay together last night in the same place?
They wouldn't give us 2 separate hotel rooms.
I'm just asking you a question.
Yes.
Okay. I never stayed in the same hotel room with a neighbor when I traveled.
I asked, and they said that there was going to be at least 2 separate beds, because I asked her about that, about getting 2 separate hotel rooms.
Mm-hmm. You think I believe you? I don't. Let's move on. September 2004.
He came to the house, and we were arguing about Brendan, our son. I went into the room, and I was packing my stuff and putting it in a bag.
Just a second. So this was a place that you lived together?
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't come to your house?
He moved out. He had moved out when...
When had he moved out?
Maybe 2 days before that, because he had found a letter, and he went through my stuff. And
A letter from whom?
Me. It was stuff that I wrote about my feelings, about him and the way he treated me.
Okay.
And
so he moved out?
He packed his stuff, yes, and left and went to his aunt's house, I believe.
Keep going.
And he pushed me back because I went to try to go around him in the bedroom to leave, and I told him to leave me alone and to let me go.
Well, what did he do?
He kept pushing me back.
That's not what you said in here. You said he pushed you once.
He kept trying to stop me from going.
Don't make things up as we're going along, Miss Burke. You said in your answer that he pushed you one time, not kept pushing you. Now, which one was it? Did he push you one time, as you swore to in your complaint, or did he push you multiple times, as you just told me?
He did push me one time, but he kept, like, holding, like, where I couldn't get around him. He would move over to the side to where I couldn't get around him. When I did get a...
Blocking, not pushing.
Right.
Go ahead.
Before I had gotten to the car is when he had shoved me from behind. We fell into the car. He wouldn't let me get into the car, and that's when Robert had called the police.
You have a police report?
Not with me, no.
Do you?
Yes.
I'd like to see it, please. All right, Mr. Selby, you want to tell me what happened on September 9th, please?
Can I start from September 8th?
If it's absolutely necessary. If it's not necessary, it's just going to irritate me.
September 8th, I was at work with her son Tyler because there were hurricanes, the schools were closed. When she came to pick me up from work, she brought Robert with her to pick me up from work. We went home.
On September 8th?
Correct. She left with Robert for approximately 2 hours. I knew she wrote that 19-page letter, so I went looking for it, and it confirmed they were together. She has since got her hands on it and destroyed it. There were police called that night because...
Why?
He threatened me that he was going to beat me up. Then he called the police because I was on his property, which it was like 2 places on 1 piece of land. The police came out and they escorted her off the property with the kids. September 9th, I found out she was packing not her stuff, but everything, my stuff, which I still don't have today. I never went into the bedroom where they said I pushed her. I was never in there. I was in the living room the whole time. I went to leave, get into my aunt and uncle's car. She ran to the car. I raced her to the car. I beat her to the car. No one fell. There were no tripping.
Why was she running to the car?
To take it.
Go ahead.
When I got in the car, Robert ran over on the phone, said he witnessed me hit her. I did it. I asked to speak to the cop. He wouldn't let me get on the phone.
Okay. Why did you drop that case?
Because Jason, we were going to try to reconcile and get back together, and he had told me that he was going to go to counseling, which I believe he did in fact go in January.
Counseling for what?
For being abusive mentally and physically, because September was not the first time that he's actually been in trouble for hitting me.
So you dropped those charges in September.
Right.
And when was the next time you filed an application for a restraining order?
February 3rd.
What was that about?
I got a call from my babysitter that I needed to call H&R Block, so I called them, and they said that my income tax had been denied because my children's Social Security numbers had come back that they were already claimed.
Did you claim both boys?
No, just Brendan.
Just
I got it
Brendan.
right here.
Okay.
It was my understanding that he claimed both the children.
So you were mistaken.
Right.
So, what did you do?
So I called him, and I told him that I was going to come over, and I went over to his house.
With whom?
With Robert.
Big mistake.
Right.
Big.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Don't make things up as you're going along. I can tell I have a truth meter back here. When somebody is giving me the business, my left eye starts to twitch.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jason Selby says, on 2 occasions, ex-girlfriend Anne Marie Burke had him falsely arrested for domestic violence.
So here's what we have, Ms. Burke. We have your husband, who, according to the police report back in September, was of the belief that you were having an affair with Robert.
Right.
That's all over the police report. Whether you were or whether you weren't, I don't have to get into now. That's not my business. Quite frankly, I don't care. The fact that you shared a room together last night is some indication to me that you're more than just friendly neighbors. However, you knew that he was harboring that belief, so to bring Robert to his house was a large mistake.
Well, the only reason why I brought Robert was because he's the only one that I had as far as a male figure, because I am afraid of Jason.
Then you shouldn't have gone to his house. What do you think you were going to accomplish going to his house as opposed to asking him on the telephone what happened?
I couldn't ask him on the telephone because his phone was breaking up.
Put your hand down. This was an emergency situation that you had to go over with him that day?
I was upset.
You were angry.
To talk to him.
Just a minute. You were angry.
Yes, ma'am.
So, you were angry and you called Robert to go over with you.
Right.
What happened when you got there?
I went up the stairs.
And where was Robert?
Sitting in the car.
Go ahead.
And I was going up the stairs and I asked him, why did he do that? I said, I'm trying to get mine.
What do you mean, sir? Going up the stairs, I didn't hear him at the door.
He was outside. When we pulled up, he was standing outside smoking, and we could see him. The way his house is, there's stairs that go up this way, and you got to go around.
So you're
the
going
ledge.
up the stairs, and as you're going up the stairs, what are you saying to him?
I asked him why he was, why did he claim the kids?
That doesn't sound right to me, madam. You were asking him in the same kind of voice you were asking me?
No, I was angry. I mean, I wasn't yelling and screaming, but I was talking a lot louder than what I am now.
I assumed you were. Go ahead.
And I told him, I said, that's not right that you claim Tyler. It's not right that, I said, you haven't paid child support. You haven't come to see your kid. And I said, you can at least let me claim the kids. I'm trying to make it on my own.
You weren't having this whole discussion as you're walking upstairs, madam. That doesn't sound logical. If it doesn't sound logical, it's not true.
By the time I was steadily
I know what you're thinking, but that's not what you were saying to him as you were walking upstairs furious because you had just gotten the call from H&R Block, and the first person you called was Robert. How tall are you, Robert?
6 foot.
Yeah. Called Robert to come over with you. Okay. So you're walking up the stairs screaming. Go ahead.
I get around the corner, and we start talking, arguing. I told him that he's not a good father. We started arguing about that, about him not being a good dad and him not coming to see Brendan. I did tell him that he was, and he asked me, because I had called the IRS and found out that he can't legally claim Tyler. And that's what I told him he was for. And
no, you just said you was, because I called the IRS.
Right.
You didn't go through this whole explanation. You just said, listen to me. Don't make things up as you're going along. I can tell I have a truth meter back here. When somebody has given me the business, my left eye starts to twitch. You got it? So you told him because you called the IRS.
Right.
Okay. And what happened next, Miss Burke?
I again told him that he was a bad father, and that's when he had smacked me in my eye. And he went in the house. I went running down the steps and got in the car, and I left.
Can I see the police report, please?
Yes.
Incident number 2. Did you seek medical treatment?
No.
Can I clarify that day? First, on January 24th, I called her because she told me she moved to South Florida and she was living with her brother in South Florida. Up until February 3rd, that's where I thought she was living. Because she told me if I tried to call down there to be in my son's life, she was going to get me in trouble for harassment. So I called the police to verify that. They said she could say whatever she wants, but it would be
Can we get to, please, to February 3rd?
February 3rd, I spoke to a family lawyer and the county courthouse. I couldn't file anything because I didn't know her address. That night, I got home from work. I was playing PlayStation, got a phone call on my cell phone, answered it, and there was low signal, and it didn't come in. She called back about 2 minutes later. She said, "Good, you're home, I'm coming over," and hung up on me. She pulled up. I was standing on the balcony. She got out of the car, and her first words were, "You're an effing thief."
Go ahead.
So I went right in the house, I shut the screen door, and we were separated the whole time by a screen door. Robert, I didn't know he was there until I got the copy of the police report. I never once saw him there. I called the police the minute she said, "You're," and she left. Called the police, explained that she falsified a report once before. I don't want to be in trouble. They assured me I wouldn't be in trouble. Police officer showed up at my door, told me that I was accused of hitting her, and I basically ended up going to jail.
How long?
For overnight.
What I don't understand, Miss Burke, is this. You testified a moment ago that you were afraid of this man, that he had been abusive to you. So I don't understand why you went over to his house.
Because I didn't think that having somebody with me that he would do anything. I didn't think that he would do that.
The person that you brought with you was sitting, according to you, in the car.
Right.
And the first words out of your mouth were what?
I told him he was a thief. I didn't...
No. You told him he was a blank thief.
No, I didn't say that. I did not say that. I told him he was a thief.
Okay. So the first thing that you said to him was, "You're a thief," as you were walking up the stairs.
Yes.
You were angry, agitated. Did you think that that was going to provoke him? Especially since you were wrong.
You're right.
And you think that if you hadn't gone over there to this person that you were really afraid of, that all this would have happened?
I didn't honestly think that he would do something with somebody there, because when we did pull up, he was leaning, smoking a cigarette out over the...
Well, what did you intend to accomplish, Miss Burke? He had already claimed your son, you thought 2 sons, but he had already claimed your son on his tax returns. That was done.
I thought that he would help.
You thought that he would help, and your first statement to him was, "You're a thief"? That's the way you wanted to start this exchange, this friendly exchange? Now, Mr. Selby, have you ever exercised poor judgment with regard to Miss Burke?
Yeah, meeting her, unfortunately.
Well, I'm not talking about just meeting. I'm talking about other things. Have you ever exercised poor judgment?
Yes.
And have you ever exercised poor judgment when the police weren't called?
Probably.
The primary thrust of your complaint here is that you were embarrassed.
For the defamation of character.
Right. I can understand that that happened. And I think that you deserve to be compensated for that, because I don't believe that you hit her.
Thank you.
And clearly neither did a court. If you ever want to have a relationship with this child, it's your responsibility to go into court immediately and seek an order of visitation and be prepared to enter into an order of support for your son. She didn't move out of state, but she moved away from where the 2 of you were living. Certainly, you wouldn't like it if he took the child, would you?
I actually set up dates for him to come see his son.
How far away did you move?
Like 10 minutes. I only live like 10 minutes away from him. And
then what are you complaining about, Mr. Selby?
To this day, I don't know where she lives.
He's always known where I lived, and he knows my phone number. It's never changed.
Easy. If you say he knows where you live, where do you live?
My new address is 216 Street.
When did you move there?
Probably like a month ago.
Did you give him that address?
No.
So he doesn't have that address?
He has my phone number.
Listen to me, Miss Burke. I speak English. It's my primary language. You say he's always known my address. He's always known where I lived.
From the time that he's been trying to visit his son, He has always known the house that I have
You
stayed in.
said that you moved.
I moved.
I don't understand. Stayed in, lived. You know, you're being slick with me. Don't be slick with me.
I'm not trying to be slick. I'm
Mr.
nervous,
Selby,
and he's had the
you
opportunity.
go to court, establish an order of visitation. That's what you have to do. She didn't move 100 miles away. According to her, she lives no more than 10 or 15 minutes away from where you live. Is that what you're swearing to today, madam?
Yes.
Well, that's what you have to do.
In order, I tried, but I don't have a physical address where she is.
Well, now she just gave it to you.
Right. And in the beginning, she moved right in with Robert. So I wasn't
There's
gonna
no
go
question
visit.
about that. She identifies Robert, and Robert identifies himself as her live-in roommate.
Yeah, it's going to be very
Is that
tough
just
for
a second?
me.
Very live-in. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500. That's all.
Is suing his ex-wife, student Anna Russell, for an unpaid loan and money he claims she stole. Anna says she owes Steve nothing.
Now, that's case number 74 on the calendar in the matter of Sadler versus Russell. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. Sadler, I have a question, and it has absolutely nothing to do with the case. Did that outfit come with a jacket?
No, ma'am.
Oh, okay. I just curious.
Actually, I grew out of it.
You grew out of the jacket? Okay. I mean, the outfit looks nice. It just looked as if it wasn't quite finished. Mr. Sadler, according to your complaint, Miss Russell, who is your former wife, borrowed some money from you, and then she took some money that you had given her to hold for safekeeping.
Right.
This was after she and her children, because the two of you have 5 children together. You have children from a previous marriage or relationship, and Miss Russell has children from a previous marriage or relationship, 5 in total, none that are your joint children together.
Right.
And you were divorced, and then after a couple of months decided that it was a mistake to get divorced, so she moved back in with you, and that, again, didn't work out. But it was during this period after the divorce that was your claim that these loans took place. $900 that you claim was a loan, and $3,600 that you claim she actually stole from you.
Well, more or less.
So give me some dates, Mr. Sadler. When were you married?
2001. December of 2001, I believe. I'm sorry, 2002.
And when were you divorced?
October of 2004.
And when did Miss Russell and her children move back in with you?
In December.
And when did she move out?
End of February. February 23rd, I believe.
Okay. Do you have custody of your children?
Yes, ma'am.
How many children do you have?
I have 3.
Now let's talk about the loan first. The loan was made, according to you, in December of 2004.
Right.
Tell me about the loan.
Basically, she had decided she wanted to go bankrupt so she could be a stay-at-home mother. And so I had her pull $1,500 out of my home equity. And we actually spent $600 of that on bills, and the additional $900 left was supposed to go into savings where I was going to pay an attorney for her to go bankrupt when that time came. But the money never went into savings or checking. She just held on to it, and it went with her when she moved out. And she never did go bankrupt. And she ended up, from what I understand, just use the money to catch up her bills.
Miss Russell, when had you accumulated this debt that inspired you to think about bankruptcy?
Most of my debt was acquired when we were married, and then also in some of our separations. But I've always kept my credit up to par. I mean, I had like 16 revolving accounts, no lates, anything. And during the time that we discussed me going bankrupt for the family, I didn't pay my bills, and then...
Could you look at me?
Yes, ma'am.
There's a simple question that I asked you.
Okay.
When did you accumulate the debt which inspired you to think about bankruptcy?
Over time, over between
What period?
2001 through 2004.
Credit cards?
Yes, ma'am.
16 credit cards?
Well, I have I don't have 16 credit cards. I have 16 revolving accounts. I watch my credit like a hawk.
What do you mean 16 revolving accounts? You have lines of credit at banks?
Well, I don't owe any money to a bank per se unless it's through like Target Visa or Wachovia Visa.
So then why were you contemplating bankruptcy?
When Stephen and I were together, I did spend majority of the time as a homemaker, and then I would, go to school, and I did have odds and end jobs. Stephen works on commission, and this past year it dropped significantly, and we had discussed from talking to neighbors and things like that maybe I should go bankrupt and it's not so hard, and with the idea that Steve and I would be together forever, I didn't have to worry about having my name on a mortgage or having my name on another car loan, that he would take care of that, and then it would relieve some financial burden for us.
How much in debt were you?
We weren't going to go bankrupt on my car because my mom is actually a co-signer, or actually she's the primary for me on that, and we were going to substantiate.
How much in debt are you?
I don't know. I didn't add it up. I didn't go that far. I owe maybe $8,000 on my Target Visa, $6,000 on my Wachovia Visa, $2,500 maybe to Rooms to Go, and there's Sam's Club, Home Depot. I think I owe them like $2,000.
What do you do for a living?
I am a student. I moved home with my mom and wait tables and things like that.
Your children live with you?
Yes, they do.
You get child support for your children?
Yes, ma'am.
How much?
I get $125 a week.
When was the last time you held a full-time job?
I'm not really good with dates.
Are you very good with jobs, is the question, Miss Russell.
I'm sorry, what?
You have 2 children?
Yes.
I have 2 children.
Well, that's a full-time job, but I don't really necessarily
How old are your
get paid
children?
for that. I have a 13-year-old and a 5-year-old.
Your 13-year-old takes care of himself?
Himself.
Himself?
2 sons.
5-year-old's in daycare?
Actually, he's in pre-K.
Now you'll be talking about a full-time job. That's
And
what
he's
happens when
actually
you...
a very difficult child, not that you want to hear it, because he has issues and he sees a psychologist and psychiatrist and otitis media and all those wonderful things.
You still have to work, Miss Russell.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, there are alternatives to stiffing a whole bunch of people who extended you
I know,
credit.
that's why I wasn't 100% sure if I was going to do it.
Okay, good. Now, let's get to the $900. So far, Mr. Sadler, I haven't heard anything about a loan. I heard that you put $900 away ostensibly for a bankruptcy lawyer.
Right.
And now I hear, Mr. Sadler, that there was discussion between you and your wife.
Right.
Although you were divorced, you were living together as a family again, about the viability of her going bankrupt to relieve the family of all of these bills so that there would sort of be a fresh start. You wouldn't have to be spending your money on that.
Well, it was
Right?
more because she didn't want to work full time.
Listen to me, sir. Were there discussions between the two of you, since you are now together as a family, that this was a viable option to relieve the family of these?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it was.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
So she was going to stiff the other creditors, but the one creditor that she couldn't stiff was her mother,
Right.
because her mother's the co-signer on the car. You see how you get things, just let people talk and then it all comes together.
And later today,
I ran over there and tried to fish the fish out of the tank with a net and put them into fresh water, hoping that I could save their lives. They were kind of floundering around, but I mean, there was still some sort of life in them.
And they all died.
Yes, ma'am.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Steve Sadler says ex-wife Anna Russell owes for an unpaid loan to retain a bankruptcy attorney. Steve also claims Anna stole money from him.
Oh, so now you can tell me the story about Mr. Sadler, the $3,600 that you claim Miss Russell stole from you.
Okay, basically I got a lump sum of child support from my first wife, and with her going bankrupt, I had agreed that we would use the money, basically like an investment in our family, to pay down on her car, because she was going to keep her car, and that would lower that payment. But the money never got used, and our relationship just kind of went downhill, and basically I told her, I wanted to put the money in savings account because I wasn't sure where, our relationship was going, and I wasn't going to pay it towards her car if we were going to break up.
Is that what you said to her? At the time you gave her, according to you, the $3,600, you said, I'm not putting it in a checking account, I'm giving it to you to pay off your car, but if we break up, I want you to give me back the money.
Well, that never came out, but she understood that because she
Don't tell me what she understood.
Well,
this
it
is
was
a court, Mr. Sadler.
It was like this. She had even made a statement to me that, we would discuss it if we decided she was going to use the money for something else other than what we had talked about.
You talked about just paying down the car or paying down the credit cards?
Well, first it was the credit cards, and then she decided to go bankrupt, and then it was, since she was going to still have her car, just use it towards her car.
So she was going to stiff the other creditors, but the one creditor that she couldn't stiff was her mother.
Right.
Because her mother's the co-signer on the car. You see
Right.
how you get things, just let people talk and then it all comes together. Good thing that they strengthened the bankruptcy laws in this country. Financial planning is not bankruptcy. People sort of think that financial planning is another term for bankruptcy. Okay, how much did you earn last year, sir?
Last year I earned roughly $45,000.
And how much do you get in child support for your 3 children?
I get, for 3 children, I get $50 a week. For 3.
What does your former wife do?
I think she works at a daycare, at a gym. But she kind of goes in and out of jobs.
That's the reason you have custody of your children.
Well, there were other reasons, but okay.
Okay. Does she see her children?
Not anymore. She's actually talking about getting for the summer because she lives in another state.
Well, if she gets them for the summer, sir, if you agree to that, you tell her that you'll give her $50 a week for the 3 children.
Actually, I'm not going to
See
give
how
her,
that flies.
I wasn't going to give her anything.
Right. Now, the $3,600 he gave you under what circumstances?
I think Stephen felt guilty because when we would break up, he would also spend money too. And he was taking out a line of credit towards the house. And even though we were a family unit, the money was only going to go towards his bills, but not help me with mine. And I think that he felt guilty, and that he said if he ever did get the money from Misha, which is the back child support, and I did raise the children for that time, that I could have it because he considered it like free money. I can even remember when I was even at home with him and my mom was on the phone and he was saying if he did get the money, you know, that I could have it. And I was like, Mom, you know, you need to write down this date, because we didn't really know, because we have an up and down relationship. And
I got it, Miss Russell.
Okay. But he did give me the money and I didn't steal it.
What did you do with it?
I paid it towards my bills. And just to let you know, I didn't just want to go bankrupt. It was, I mean, he was even saying, you know, you need to go bankrupt before these laws come into effect. It's going to be harder.
Well, whatever.
But I do
In any
care.
event, Mr. Sadler, I don't hear anything about a loan, sir. I don't hear anything about a loan for the $900. And I read your complaint very carefully, which I don't buy. I'm going to tell you why I don't buy it. Your complaint, which you swore to, says, she wanted to file bankruptcy and asked for my help, so I agreed to loan her $900 to retain an attorney. Well, that's not true. That's even not what you testified to today, right? So that's false. Then you say, in January, I received $3,600 in back child support from my first wife. I cashed the check. I was afraid if I put the money directly into my checking account, I would spend it. So I gave the entire sum to Anna to put aside for us.
Right.
Now listen to me. In the previous paragraph of your complaint, you say she wanted to file for bankruptcy because she had spent money that she shouldn't have. And then you went on to tell me I agreed to loan her the $900, and then she went on a spending spree and spent approximately $5,000 on her credit card because she knew she was going to file a bankruptcy, so she might as well work up the credit cards, right? Now, a month later, as irresponsible as that is, right? So you would say this is irresponsible, right?
Right.
She was going to file bankruptcy, which means she didn't have money. So she said, I'm going to go out and jack up my credit cards, probably buying things, Christmas presents and things like that, month of December, right, sir?
Well,
but according to you, she did that, and that was financially irresponsible. So the next month you get the $3,600, and since you didn't trust yourself by putting it in your checking account, you gave it to Miss Responsibility to hold for us.
Steve Sadler says ex-wife Anna Russell owes for an unpaid loan to retain a bankruptcy attorney. Steve also claims Anna stole money from him.
I don't buy it, Mr. Sadler. I don't buy the $900 loan to your former wife, and I don't buy the fact that you gave her this money to hold for us. I believe that you gave her this money to pay down her credit card debt, and she owes you absolutely nothing. Zippo, nada, goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It's about getting back what I felt like should have been returned to me in the event our family fell apart.
He actually had me served with papers trying to have me arrested, saying that I stole the money.
We've broke up, God, probably 16 times in the last 4 years, and I'm not about to say it's the last time.
I'm currently reading the book, He's Just Not That Into You, and if I had to give my own words of it, I would have to say he's just not that into you if he sues you and tries to have you arrested.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Lee versus Gann. Step forward, please.
20-year-old student Jonathan Lee is suing his former friend, 20-year-old student Christopher Gann, for killing his fish when he dumped soap in his freshwater aquarium. Christopher says it was an accident.
Your first name is Jonathan?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're Christopher?
Christopher.
And you used to be roommates?
Yes.
How long were you roommates?
About a year.
You go to school?
Yes, ma'am.
What year are you in?
I'm a third year, ma'am.
I too am a third year.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
Computer science.
You don't want to be a veterinarian, do you?
No.
Jonathan?
Yes, ma'am.
Christopher destroyed your fish tank.
Yes, ma'am.
And based upon those relics there, it was a big fish tank.
Yes, ma'am.
And he destroyed your fish tank with soapy water.
Yes, ma'am.
Killed all the fish.
Yes, ma'am.
He says it was the fish's fault.
More or less, ma'am.
They were in the wrong place in the apartment.
Yes, ma'am.
And he tripped over them. Is that right, Christopher? I read your answer.
I kind of bumped into the tank, which
Because you say in your answer, the tank and the fish was placed in a high-traffic zone.
Yeah, I have a set of photographs with the picture of where the tank is, and it's
I'd like to see that.
Oh.
Okay. When did this happen?
Sometime in November.
Jonathan, when did it happen?
November 18th, 2004, ma'am.
And you came home and found everything destroyed.
Yes,
is that
ma'am.
right? Okay. And this is where the fish tank was?
Yes.
And it wasn't on wheels, was it?
It's on cinder blocks.
It's not one of these remote-controlled fish tanks that move around.
No.
How long have you been living in this apartment?
Almost a year.
And in the year, has the fish tank been in the same spot?
It was placed in the end of summer, and then it happened in November.
So it's been there for a couple of months.
A few months, yes.
Stationary.
Stationary.
And the only thing that's moved is you.
It's me, yes.
You get my drift where I'm
Right.
going.
Oh, and I wrote in.
So why don't you tell me, Christopher, how this happened and why you don't think that you're responsible to your former roommate for replacing his fish tank?
First off, I have a copy of our rental agreement which states that no pets should be allowed and that no things should be placed in hallways that obstruct movement. So what had happened was I'd filled this bowl with soap, concentrated hand soap and water, and I was walking from the kitchen to the garage because I wanted to spot clean my shoes. So as I was walking with this bowl, I saw my roommate who crossed from downstairs into this pseudo hallway because it's the main walkway from room's entrance to the kitchen. So I took the bowl away to get it away from him, and then he made a sudden move to like try to mess with me, and I kind of stepped back and I banged my elbow into the fish tank, dropping the bowl into the tank. And that's what happened.
Do you have any witnesses that were there that day?
Actually, no one witnessed it, so no one saw it.
Well, the other roommate was there, according to him.
He didn't tell me anything beyond that they were horsing around. That's it.
Tell me what happened when you got home.
When I got home, I came in from the garage and basically saw him and another roommate removing bubbles from the tank. And I was kind of shocked. And I go, "What happened?" He said, "I spilled soap into your tank." "How'd you do it?" "I was horsing around." "Well, what are you doing?" "Well, I'm moving the bubbles." So I ran over there and tried to fish the fish out of the tank with a net and put them into fresh water, hoping that I could save their lives. They were kind of floundering around, but I mean, there was still some sort of life in them.
How many fish did you have in the tank?
I had citlets and plecos and a gourami, ma'am. I was trying to breed them.
So you had 6 fish?
I believe I had 7, 9, 10 fish and 2 snails, ma'am.
And they all died?
Yes, ma'am.
Christopher, listen to me carefully, sir. Whose fault do you think it is that all these fish died?
I think it should be, it's mutual, like, he shouldn't have had the tank there in the first place.
The tank's been there for months, sir. When for the first time did you complain to him that the tank was there?
I didn't want to complain to him.
So you never complained to him?
No.
When for the first time did you complain to him that he was in violation of the lease because he had pets in the apartment?
After he tried to come after me for $400.
But not before?
No.
So that's a lot of baloney. What you're saying to me really is, it's my fault and I'm trying to find some reason to avoid responsibility. So far, I haven't heard it's my fault because I was horsing around with my roommate.
It is my fault.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $330. Thank you. That's all.
Student Jamie Dickinson is suing her ex-boyfriend's mother, store manager Bernice Irwin, for assaulting her and breaking her cell phone. Bernice claims Jamie was in her house without her permission.
All rise. Quiet in the courtroom. All rise. Now, this is case number 40 on the calendar in the matter of Dickinson versus Irwin. You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Miss Dickinson, Miss Irwin is your boyfriend's mother.
Yes.
I assume this is the boyfriend.
Yes, he is.
How long have you been his girlfriend?
We're actually broken up right now. We were dating for about a month.
Not dating anymore?
No.
Any particular reason?
We were good friends, and I didn't want to ruin our friendship.
Okay. It is your complaint that Mrs. Irwin, for no good reason, broke your cell phone.
Yes, she did.
And you want her to pay for it.
Yes.
And Miss Irwin says you were an uninvited guest in her home, and that precipitated this incident with the cell phone. So why don't you tell me when this happened?
This happened in February, the 21st. Ryan and I were dating at the time. We had gotten back to his house and we were watching TV, relaxing.
Where were you watching TV?
Up in his living room. And Bernice came home.
Bernice, that's you.
Yes. And she came home yelling and freaking out on Ryan. She began to yell at him even more, put him down.
What was she saying?
You're a loser, you're good for nothing. And then she began to hit him, smack him in the face.
What did he say to her?
Nothing. Nothing was really said. She was just like, you're a loser. And Ryan was just simply not saying anything because I was present. And when she came into the living room, she was yelling at me. And then she had hit Ryan across the face. And then she did it a few more times. And I told her that if she had kept hitting him, that I was going to call the cops because I did not feel comfortable whatsoever. She looked at me and said, I'll do whatever I want. This is my house. Hit him again, and that's when I had called for the police assistance.
Okay, so you used your cell phone to call the police?
Yes, I did.
Okay, what happened next?
When I was on the phone with the police, she was still yelling at Ryan, and they got it on tape and everything like that. And I had said I need police assistance to this address. And then she had noticed I was on the phone with the cops, and then she attacked me. And I have pictures here of the bruises from when she grabbed my arm and my wrist.
Is that when your phone was broken?
Yes.
Well, tell me how it got broken, Miss Dickinson.
I was on the phone, and she had grabbed my arm, and then she was fighting with me. I was telling her to let go of me, not to touch me. And then she grabbed the top half of my cell phone and snapped it off, and opened her front door and threw it outside in the snow.
Okay. Now I'll see the police report, please.
Okay. I also have pictures of the bruises. Would you like to see them?
Yes.
And there's also pictures of my cell phone in there.
Is this the only police report that you have?
Yes, there was no police report written. It was just a log entry.
Okay. Step up, please. Your first name is Ryan?
Mm-hmm.
How old are you, Ryan?
18.
You're not living in your mother's home anymore, is that right?
Yes.
Who are you living with now?
I'm staying with friends now.
How long has it been since you haven't been getting along with your mother?
As long as I can remember.
When did you ultimately move out of the house?
She kicked me out a couple weeks ago after she got arrested for domestic assault on me.
Why don't you get along with your mother?
Because she's crazy.
I also have the police log from her arrest, if you'd like to see that.
I would. Are you going to school, Ryan?
No, not right now.
You working?
No, not currently.
How are you supporting yourself?
I really haven't been.
Okay. All right, Miss Irwin. What kind of work do you do?
I'm a store manager.
Were you working on the 21st of February?
I was.
What were your hours of employment?
On that particular day, I worked till about 6 p.m.
Did you go directly from the store home?
I did not.
Where did you go?
I went to a friend's house, and then I came home.
What time did you get home?
Approximately 7 to 7:30 p.m.
And you came home and you found your son and his girlfriend watching television?
They were in my living room. My house was a total disaster. Ryan was not allowed to have any guests at my home without my permission, which he continued to do so, and I was quite angry.
Had you ever met this young lady before?
Once or twice, yes.
Where?
One time at my house, and another time she was leaving my house for a few minutes. That was it.
You never had any problem with her?
No, I didn't.
So what happened when you came home on the 21st?
I'd asked Ryan why he had a guest in my home. We'd had many problems in the past with him having company, and I told him he was not allowed to have anybody in my home without my permission. Ryan got very angry at me and started swearing, cursing, calling me several names. He then spit in my face, literally, and I slapped him across the face once. At that point, Jamie had gotten off my sofa and started calling me names that I will not even repeat, and I asked them to leave my house. They refused.
Shh. Yes?
She did say, threatened she was going to call the police. I, at that time, told her if indeed she called the police, my son probably would have been arrested because he was on probation.
For what?
Numerous things, assault and battery, disturbing the peace. He was on probation for assault and battery on a police officer.
That's serious stuff?
It had
Ryan?
been serious stuff.
That's serious stuff?
Yes.
Okay, so she called the police?
Yeah, I didn't know she was on the phone. I had just got done telling her if indeed she called the police. There
was a lot of screaming going around, so
yes, there was.
Everybody was screaming. I want to know how her phone got broken.
She got on the phone with somebody, I'm not sure who, saying that I was abusing my son, which was not true.
That was with the police.
My son had just spit in my face, and I did slap him across the face after he had called me several vulgar names. One time I did slap him across the face. Yes, I did.
I want to know how her phone got broken.
Well, she was on the phone, and I, at that point, once again told her, if you want to make the phone call, go outside. I need you to get out of my house. And she refused to leave, so I took the phone out of her hand. And as far as I know, it was the top part of her cell phone that did snap off. And at that point, I threw it outside to make them leave my house. I'd asked them several times to leave.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Have you ever been in trouble with the law?
Nope, never.
He has been.
I understand that.
Set your sights a little higher. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I have
Don't
a new
say
boyfriend.
anything, Ryan.
And later today,
Lester's a stubborn dog, there's no doubt about it.
I have a very stubborn dog, but she has to be very, very well trained.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jamie Dickinson says her ex-boyfriend's mother owes for breaking her cell phone. Bernice Irwin claims Jamie was trespassing on her property.
Okay. There are a couple of things that I don't quite understand, Miss Irwin, and I think that probably you would have been more prudent if when you came home and found Ryan there watching television with his girlfriend, you waited until she left and then confronted him. As far as I've heard, they weren't doing anything untoward. They were sitting watching television in your living room. So when you came home and started to go off on him in front of his girlfriend, especially a kid that you'd had trouble with and that clearly has a temper, that probably wasn't the most prudent thing to do. And then there was a lot of yelling and screaming. However, Miss Dickinson was an invited guest to your home. She was invited by your son, who lives there, or did then. And whatever argument you were having with your son, and I'm not going to get into slapping him in the face or screaming or yelling or bad names, I'm not getting into that. The only thing that's before me is whether you're responsible to buy her a new cell phone. I believe her when she says that she told you she was going to call the police, and I believe you knew she was calling the police because that's what she said she was going to do. And at that time, if you grabbed her by the arm and grabbed her cell phone and snapped it off and then threw it outside, you're responsible to buy her a new cell phone. It seems to me that there was an altercation in your home and it was getting out of hand. It was a good thing that she was calling the police. So why would you be angry? So, how much was the cell phone?
It is $199.99. I have the paper from the website singular.com.
Okay, can I see it, please? And a cell phone. Who is this person?
Carol, a friend of mine.
Was she there that evening?
She wasn't there that evening.
Okay. This is one of these cute little phones that takes pictures?
No, it doesn't.
Oh, doesn't take pictures. Okay, that's all you're suing for, the cost of the cell phone. Anything else you want to tell me?
No, that about covers everything.
What do you do for a living, Miss Dickinson?
I babysit, and I used to work at CVS. I had just quit my job, though, because I'm still in high school, and I'm graduating this year, so it's kind of hard doing both.
Have you ever been in trouble with the law?
Nope, never.
He has been.
I understand that.
Lots of times. Set your sights a little higher. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I have a new
Don't say
boyfriend.
anything, Ryan. You've got a little ways to go to get your act together, young man. Somebody who's 18 years old, who's not going to school, who's not working, who's not supporting themselves, who's got an arrest history, according to your mother, that's lengthy, is not going down the right path. The yellow brick road is eluding you, Ryan. You're going to have to find it. Otherwise, you're going to be dead by the time you're 30. That would be a shame, right? Be smart. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $199. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm a little confused about the whole thing, actually. I don't really believe that I broke Jamie's cell phone.
I was not brought up that way. I was brought in a very well-nurtured home where no violence is present.
I could ask her to leave my home along with my son.
Mom overreacts a whole lot.
I'm really hoping that we can be friends yet again, mother and daughter. Mother and son, I'm sorry.
That'd be wonderful if it could, but I don't know if that could ever happen.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Horn Torres versus Cunningham. Step forward, please.
25-year-old homemaker Deanna Horn Torres is suing dog trainer Brian Cunningham for injuring her dog Buster during a session. Brian says he did nothing out of the ordinary.
Miss Torres?
Yes.
And this is Buster?
Yes.
And Buster was behaving badly. How old is Buster?
He's 4 months.
Where did you get him?
We got him from a breeder.
What kind of dog is he?
He's a boxer.
Did the breeder tell you that boxers are hard to train?
No, she didn't.
Is he hard to train?
He's doing better, but he is a little difficult. Yes, yes.
He doesn't look interested in what's going on here, I'll tell you that right now. Well, according to what your complaint states, because you were having some difficulty in training Buster on your own, you asked your vet for a recommendation.
Yes.
Had you used this vet before?
Yes.
You think that the vet that you used is a good one?
Yes.
And your vet recommended Mr. Cunningham?
Yes.
And said he was a good dog trainer?
Yes.
And you made an agreement with him. I think his whole fee was $525, and you paid him, and it is your claim that he hurt your dog during the training sessions, and you want a full refund.
Yes.
The $525 that you paid Mr. Cunningham was for how many sessions?
He didn't give me an amount. He said he would come to my house until I was completely satisfied. He didn't tell me how long it would take.
I offer everybody. It's a 6-week course or until the dog is completely trained.
What kind of trained? You mean potty trained, crate trained?
Housebreaking, chewing, digging, obedience is how we do it.
What if you get a really dumb dog?
There aren't really very many dumb dogs. It's just folks, you've got to follow up with the instruction I give you.
What about stubborn dogs?
Very stubborn sometimes. Buster's a stubborn dog. There's no doubt about it.
I have a very stubborn dog. But she has to be very, very well trained.
That's good.
All right, Miss Torres, tell me what happened.
He had came 3 times to my house. The first day, everything went fine. The second time he came, there was a pink mark around the dog's neck, and he told me it was because the dog was a white dog and it would go away. And it did. Within 2 hours, it was gone. And so the next time he came, the dog ran under the bed to hide. Well, whenever he came out...
That's all right. You can leave him alone. He's fine.
As soon as he put the collar around the dog's neck, the dog snapped at him. And so when he was being rough with him, we asked him, why are you being so rough? And he said that he had to do it to keep him from snapping at people. So we said, okay, well,
You mean the dog bit the inside of his mouth?
Yes. And so at that time, we ended the session. He took the collar off the dog, and the dog ran underneath the bed. And when I went to the dog, I had noticed the injuries that I do have pictures of. And my husband talked to Brian later on the phone and told Brian that we didn't want his services anymore. We couldn't have him abuse our dog.
Okay, so let me see the photographs that you took. Okay, Mr. Cunningham, I'll hear you.
Your Honor, I've been training dogs for 17 years. I have 2 witnesses to tell you what kind of trainer I am.
Tell me your name.
Barbara Buquay.
Step up, please. Are you just a satisfied customer?
Oh, I'm absolutely satisfied.
What kind of dog do you have?
I have a Maltese, Sophie.
Little one?
She's very small, yes. She's about 5 pounds.
Does she bark?
Well, actually, she does not bark. No, not usually.
Good.
Yes, I know. I'm so happy with her, and I'm so happy with Brian.
Okay. You, sir?
My name is Victor McDougall, and Brian has trained 2 dogs for me. The first one was Tara, and she had a little problem with liking to chew on furniture and stuff. And, Brian helped me train her and get her out of that. And most people would tell me that, boy, I wish my kids listened as well as my dog. So, yeah, so that's always good to hear.
Okay. Have a seat. So this is my problem, Mr. Cunningham. I believe that you are a good dog trainer.
Thank you.
And I believe that because their vet that they have tremendous confidence in recommended you.
Yes.
And you bring 2 witnesses who I have no reason to doubt that say that you've been wonderful with their animals. This didn't work out. Whether you pulled a little too hard, whether the dog bruises easily, I don't know what happened. But these people did not cause this injury to the dog. I can understand they're being upset. Does it sound like you're losing yet, sir?
No, it doesn't.
Good. Perfect. Would you give these to Mr. Cunningham, please? We have to know when to... Take them back now, please. Now, you have a whole bunch of satisfied customers. And I don't think that, based upon what these people tell me, that this is standard fare for you, because otherwise their vet would not have recommended you, and you have satisfied customers. So if these people are not satisfied, you should have given them back their money and said, in 17 years, I never had this kind of problem. I don't want this kind of problem now. My time is too valuable.
Your Honor,
yes,
if I may, I believe that I should be paid for my time. If I show up 4 times and they refuse to accept any of my, I understand that. The dog, you know what, here's the thing. Had they been working the dog every week, only 10 minutes a day, that would not have been the case
Mr. Cunningham,
ever.
you know how kind I was just being to you before, a moment ago? I was being kind to you because like 10 million people are going to watch this. A lot of them have dogs. So I was trying to be kind and say, you're a wonderful dog trainer.
Well, I am.
This was an aberration. You should have just said, going to return your money, and that's it. But since you don't seem to get it, what I'm going to tell you is this, sir. If you went to their house first time and then came back for the next session and you found that they weren't following your direction,
Yes.
at that point you could have said, just a minute, I can't work this way. I'm not going to treat this dog in any way that's in any way that's rough, that's going to leave this kind of bruising. Here's your money back. Not the 4th time you came to the house, but the 2nd time you came to the house and said, I can't work with you people. I could work with that dog, but I can't work with you. So here's your money back. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $525. Clearly, this dog is not intimidated by anything, not even my voice.
No, ma'am.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Is suing her ex-boyfriend, James Sanchez, and his mother, Joanne Neri, for 2 unpaid loans. Aubrey says she loaned Joanne money to move and James money to fix his truck.
All rise. Yeah, this is case number 78 on the calendar in the matter of Ellsworth versus Neri Sanchez. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Miss Ellsworth, this young man used to be your boyfriend, and you are Miss Neri, you are his mother.
Yes, ma'am.
According to your complaint, you lived for a period of time with your boyfriend and his mother, and you made each of them a series of loans. His mother at some point told you to leave the house. You left. You want your money. Each of the defendants say that they owe you nothing. Money that you gave Miss Neri was for expenses, your expenses while you lived in the house. And her son, James, says anything that you gave him were gifts because he took care of certain things for you. When did you move in with Miss Neri and her son?
In June of 2004.
And what were you doing at the time?
At the time, I was working for Forever 21.
Now tell me about the first loan you made to Mrs. Neri.
The loan I had made to Mrs. Neri was for $2,000. She said she had needed it for the down payment on the house that we were going to move into. She stated that she had asked her dad to borrow the money, and he had said no, and that I was last resort, and if I couldn't loan her the money, we would have nowhere to live.
Where had you been living?
I had been living with them in an apartment.
So you all wanted to move someplace else together. Did you sign the lease?
Yes, I did.
On the new place?
On the new place, yes. I was told that I was not going to be a renter on the house, and that the only reason why I needed to sign the paperwork was because I was over 18.
You have a copy of the lease?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it, please. Well, the three of you were clearly on the lease, right?
Yeah.
So you know, I mean, you read this document, didn't you?
I didn't read the whole thing, no.
Why not?
Because she said she needed it signed, and so she stated that.
Miss Ellsworth, you go to school?
Yes.
What school do you go to?
Bakersfield College.
I assume that at least in your spare time when you were younger, you watched a little television?
Yes, I do.
You watched enough courtroom television to know that you're not supposed to sign something that you don't read?
Yes.
So let's not play with each other. So you signed it?
Yes.
And you should have read it. And if you didn't read it, that's not my problem.
Yeah. I did pay rent on the house.
Until you were evicted?
Yes, pretty much.
How much was security and the deposit on this apartment?
I think altogether was like $1,800. I'm not quite sure.
$1,850?
Yeah.
Where'd you get that money from?
From her, because the reason why we had to move from the apartment, because I was at the apartment for over a year already. I came home one day from work, and she was living in my apartment. I told my son, look, this cannot work. I don't want her living here. She has a home. She told me she had nowhere to go because her mom was an abusive mother. So I kind of felt sorry for her. So the next thing I knew, her dog Louie, she has a little dog Louie, he was tearing up the curtains and everything. So I'm a single mom. I couldn't just come up with that money just to move. So, I had no choice. I asked my dad, and my dad goes, well, it's your fault. You should have never let her move in. Why you have to move. Because the reason why we had to move, because she wasn't on the lease. It was breach of contract, they said.
I can understand if you're moving in together, she's on the lease, she should pay a third of $1,850.
Okay, we moved in that home after we got kicked out of the apartment.
Listen to me. You don't have to get kicked out of the apartment. All you have to do is put the two of them out. And you can stay.
Right.
He's not going anywhere without her. You could stay. Put them out.
No, she said we had to move.
Listen to me. $1,850. Only a third of that. She's on the lease. Only a third of that is hers.
Right.
Why did you throw her out?
I didn't throw her out. She was there. Her and my son were always arguing. It got to the point where I'd come out of work and I didn't want to go home anymore. She was possessive with my son, very possessive with my son.
Did you tell her to leave?
I did not tell her she had to leave. She got upset because I came home one day, the place was dirty. I figured if I'm working, in their home, they should at least have the place clean. We got in an argument. My son heard me say, me and my son arguing. She got up and she left. I didn't verbally say, Aubrey, you have to leave.
She had told me all the time that I had brought sin into her house and that I was bringing chaos and that she didn't want me living there. Her son told me numerous times, I don't have to leave, it's you that has to leave. My mom doesn't want you living here. She threatened to kick him out all the time. She threatened to kick me out all the time just to have, in my opinion, a control.
What?
First of all, my mom never kicked her out. Me and Aubrey used to argue a lot. Yeah, we did.
So it's a good thing she left, right?
No, I don't know if it's a good thing.
Listen to what I said. Stop thinking about what you're going to say next and start listening to my question. So it's a good thing that she left?
Yes.
For the sake of argument,
I'm speaking to you.
Hey.
Yeah, give him a good one. Okay. So it's a good thing that she left?
Yes, but she wasn't told to leave.
No, it came to her by mental telepathy, like Karnak, You wanted her to leave, and your mother wanted her to leave.
Honestly, no, I didn't want her to leave. Honestly,
no, I didn't. He was upset and crying. I didn't ask her to leave because she was still on the lease. It was up to, I think, March. She left on her own. She came out storming, and she left on her own. That's the honest.
All right, you got $1,850, Miss Ellsworth. That she has to give you back. I don't believe. How old are you?
In my 30s, late 30s.
30, in my 30s, late 30s.
Yeah.
What kind of an answer is that? How old are you?
39.
She's 18. You're 21 years her senior. She doesn't support you. You take care of her. All right. Don't go into little things with me. I'm not interested in little things. What does he owe you for?
He owes me for his truck. I helped him fix his truck. I got him a new tire, which was $76. And then I had helped him fix his truck because he had gotten rear-ended February of 2004. He could not.
February of 2004?
Yes.
Where were you for the last year?
I've been trying to collect it. We didn't get the truck, though, starting to fix until September.
Does that make sense to you?
She didn't give me all the money.
What did she give you?
I paid her half of the money back.
What did she give you is my question.
All she gave me was $150 because I paid $150 of it back to her, so it totaled out to $300, and with my $150 coming back to her, it canceled out. And then I went and paid a couple months of rent for her that she didn't pick up on. And this whole thing, we both assumed that we were just going to break it off even like that. Because, like, I mean, we were living together, and it's like, then when we break up, she goes, oh, well, now you owe me for this, and you owe me for that.
Do you want to know something? Mr. Sanchez,
Yeah.
I agree with you. How's that?
I mean, like,
agree with you.
I honestly believe if we were still together...
Just a second. Give it to him good.
I honestly...
Give it to him good. Miss
I
Neary.
honestly-
Miss Neary. Good. Give it to him good. Because he doesn't get it. I just said I agree with you.
Okay.
Stop. No more. Listen to your mother.
Can I just add one last thing then?
Why do you want to add something? I just said I agree with you.
All
You
right.
want to tell her you love her? You want to get married? You want to propose to her here?
No, I already have
Then just
another
listen to your mother.
girlfriend.
Your mother's telling you to shut up.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
It wasn't my truck.
Listen, Miss
You didn't have
Ellsworth.
a car for a while, and I was
Mr.
driving you
Sanchez,
working
you want
back.
you want your mother to slap you upside the head?
And later today,
He was stealing from the casino.
Yes, ma'am.
Nobody forces you to steal now.
Well, this gentleman here did.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Aubrey Ellsworth says both her ex-boyfriend and his mother owe her money. James Sanchez and Joanne Neary claim Aubrey is controlling and possessive.
When you're in a relationship and you have $100 here and $76 there and $40 there and $50 there, courts don't want to get involved with that if the relationship doesn't work out.
It wasn't my truck.
I don't care whose truck it was. It wasn't my truck.
You drove it.
It was a truck that
Like
you
it was
at least
yours?
rode in. That's what you do when people live together.
Not when it gets impounded. He got it impounded.
Listen, Miss
You didn't
Ellsworth.
have a car for a while, and I was
Mr.
driving you
Sanchez,
working
you want
back.
me to? You want your mother to slap you upside the head?
No.
She's going to do it, right?
Yeah.
Next time he opens his mouth, Miss Neary, give it to him good. You don't have a lawsuit against Mr. Sanchez. Mr. Sanchez and you live together in a monogamous, physical relationship, and I'm certain that during the time that you lived together, you went out to eat, he paid, sometimes you paid, other times you went to a movie, you went to a fair, you went out, he bought you a Frankfurter, he bought you a cup of coffee, you bought him,
I wish
whatever
it were like
is.
that.
Whatever it
It's
is.
hard to be like that if you're as jealous as you are. If you weren't so jealous, it could have been better.
No. Harder!
I have a restraining order on him.
Harder! Judgment for the
Aubrey,
plaintiff,
there's
that
a
is
court-
Miss Neary, in the amount of $1,850. Your lawsuit with regard to Mr. Sanchez is dismissed. That's all.
Please excuse me, step out.
He became violent with me, and he started stalking me, following me, going to my job.
As far as harassing and stalking, she was the one writing me letters all day in class and following me and my new girlfriend outside of school.
He wanted to marry me, he wanted to be with me. It became an obsession that became violent and physical.
She stalked me a couple times where I had to call the cops on her and almost have her put in jail.
It got to the point to where my work was saying, I'll put the restraining order on him for you if you don't.
She's mad because I don't want to get back with her and I found a better girl.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Richter versus Falk. Step forward, please.
20-year-old physical therapy technician Levita Richter is suing her former friend, 21-year-old caregiver Adriana Falk, for bail money, a loan to get her car fixed, and the cost of a bridesmaid's dress.
Miss Richter, you and the defendant had been friends, according to the complaint that I read.
Yes, Your Honor.
And there was a point when she was in some difficulty. Did she come to live with you at that point?
Yes, she did, Your Honor.
When was that?
About October?
October of 2004?
Yes.
Who were you living with?
My fiance?
Who's now your husband?
Yes.
Is that him?
No.
Who was this?
This is my witness.
According to you, there are 2 loans outstanding. And in addition to the 2 loans, you claim that Miss Falk owes you for this bridesmaid's dress. I assume that this is the bridesmaid's dress. She was an attendant at your wedding. They were supposed to pay for their own dresses. You claim she did not pay for hers.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Falk says that both of those times when you gave her the money, it was a gift, and the bridesmaid's dress she says she paid for even though you still have it.
Yes, ma'am.
Why did you go to live with Miss Richter and her fiancé, Miss Falk?
I was having some problems with my mother and needed to get out of the situation that I was in.
And when was the first time that she gave you money?
When this guy right over here got me into trouble at my employment, I was taken to jail because of him and his roommates and what they had asked me to do for them. And
well, why don't you explain that to me further?
Okay, I was working at Colusa Casino in Colusa County. And
Where is that?
Part of Northern California.
Go ahead.
Me and Mr. Weiser had started dating, and him and his roommates knew obviously that I worked at a casino and asked me if I could possibly give them players cards with instant rewards on them, which is like a credit, and they can go in the casino and play. Well, I told them a number of times I didn't want to do it. I didn't feel comfortable doing it. Now I'm being charged for all 4 of those gentlemen and what they asked me to do.
Just a second. So they asked you to get them these cards, and you said no. So how could you be charged with anything?
Because I did it anyways.
Oh, so you did it. You did something illegal.
Yes, ma'am.
Levita Richter says former friend Adriana Falk owes for bail money, a loan to have her car fixed, and the cost of a bridesmaid's dress.
Explain to me how you did something illegal.
I would go in and add the instant rewards to their cards. That gentleman right there would come in and play his, not only, and all four of
I
his
don't
roommates'
understand the
cards.
instant rewards. What does that mean?
It's just like a credit you can go in and play on slot machines. You can't cash it out. The only thing you cash out is what you win, but you cannot cash out anything on that card.
But you can play with it?
Yeah.
And you knew you were doing, in effect, you were stealing from the casino?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Nobody forces you to steal, madam. That's
Well,
not
this
anybody.
gentleman here did.
No, he didn't. No, Miss Falk. That's not true. If I asked Bird to falsify a document for me, and I've known him for a very long time, 25 years?
At least.
At least. I guarantee you, he would not do it for me. And he likes me. And if I asked somebody that I cared about to do something illegal, I would not be angry if they said, no, that's illegal.
Well, they were when I said no.
So then what you say to somebody who's asking you to do something wrong is, I'm sorry, you can be angry, and if you want to not see me anymore, you don't see me anymore. If you want to not be my friend, you don't want to be my boyfriend, whatever it is. But you don't blame somebody else for you're doing something criminal.
There are charges pending on them, but I don't know what they are yet.
Are there charges pending against you?
Yes, there is.
For what?
For second-degree burglary, and if it's burglary in the second degree, and then the grand theft as well.
Oh, well, I'm not going to ask you any questions about that because those matters are pending. I'm sorry. You represented by an attorney with regard to that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Stupid. Anyway, you got into trouble and she bailed you out?
Yeah. He was on his way home, and he called her and asked her to bail me out of jail.
Who asked
I
her?
had called Mr. Weiser and told him that I was in jail because he knew that I was going to meet with the security officers at the casino that morning. Then I ended up being arrested after about an hour or two of questioning. I was taken into custody and arrested, and I called him. He was the first person that I was able to call, and he called her and asked her to bail me out.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Who called?
The bail bond gentleman called me at work.
Oh, but she didn't call you.
I spoke to her, and she asked me to come bail her out.
When? You said the bail bondsman called.
I talked to her after the bail bonds gentleman called, and I was allowed to talk to her. And she was crying. She said, please come get me out of this place.
You went there and you bailed her out?
Yes.
What arrangements did you make for her to pay you back?
She was to pay me back. She had promised me that she would pay me back because that's just, I wasn't just going to give it to her. I was getting married in a few months, and I didn't have that money to spare.
Well, I want to know what conversation did you have with her with regard to paying you back? Don't tell me what she understood.
She
Ms.
just
Richter.
said, I promise that I'll pay you back. I thank you for bailing me out.
When did she say that to you?
In front of the bail bond gentleman, when we were signing these papers.
Let me see the papers. Okay, what was the next amount of money?
It was the $500 that I loaned her to have her car fixed.
Okay, let me hear.
She was driving a Geo Metro. It needed some repairs. It was $1,000 to have it fixed. Matt was my witness. He was going to pay half, and I was going to pay the other half. I wrote him a check. He deposited it into his bank account, and he
well, just a second. Why were you going to pay half? I don't hear what.
She didn't have the money to pay it, and it needed to be fixed, or else she wouldn't be able to drive back and forth to work.
Well, when did you have that discussion with her, Miss Richter?
It was
on the phone while I was at Winco.
It was not on the phone. She was in my...
Just a minute. Where was it?
I was at Winco with Mr. Weiser at the time, and she called me and told me that her and her husband now were going to loan me the $500.
No, just a second. She said she and her husband were going to loan you the $500. Perfect. And she did. So why don't you have to pay her back?
She had me arrested.
What did she have you arrested for?
Charges on credit card fraud.
And that's another thing that's pending against you? I don't want to hear about it. So she's alleging that you took money from her credit cards. And she called and had you arrested. Sounds right to me. $815 so far. Now let's hear about the bridesmaid's dress.
Bridesmaid's dress. I was getting married March. She was my maid of honor. I have a list of the other two ladies that were my bridesmaids. They knew they were all to pay for the dress. If they did not pay for the dress, they were to not be in the wedding. Being she was my supposed best friend living with me, I assumed that she would pay me back for it.
Don't assume anything.
That's my fault.
That's your fault is right. It's a very nice dress. I hope you can wear it. You don't assume anything. After she didn't have $315, which she didn't give you back for the bail bondsman, and $500 she didn't have for her car, really $1,000 she didn't have for her car, how you could legitimately expect her to pay for a dress? Expect her to pay for a dress. is something I quite frankly don't understand. So it looks like a very nice dress. It's yours. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $815. Thanks. That's all.
Thorne is suing former client, surgical admitter Joanne Morante, for the unpaid balance on a ski weekend. Joanne says the trip was a disaster and she's not paying. She is countersuing for pain and suffering.
Now, this is case number 11 on the calendar in the matter of Manthorn versus Morante. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Mr. Manthorn, you are an event planner, according to what I read in your complaint.
Yes, Your Honor.
You plan different kinds of trips.
I'm actually a club promoter, not an event coordinator.
Well, but you were planning trips.
Yes.
This particular event was a trip.
Yes.
Mrs. Morante wanted to plan a weekend with some friends, and she answered your ad. Your ad was for what kind of a weekend, Miss Morante?
Freestyle ski trip.
What does that mean?
Freestyle is a type of music, like classical or disco. It's a certain type of music.
Would somebody my age like that kind of music?
Not at all.
You answered that very fast, Miss Morante. Do you know what freestyle music is?
I have no idea.
Can you hum something in freestyle?
No, I don't really want to.
Okay. Anyway, and that was the ad that you placed, is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you signed up, you gave them a deposit?
Correct.
And how much was the deposit?
$250. $50 per girl. There were 5 girls.
2 days? Saturday,
yes, from
Sunday?
Friday night arrival, Sunday morning departure.
So 2 nights?
Correct.
Okay. And she paid you?
Yes, she did.
She went on the weekend eventually, even though the date was changed.
The ski trip that I had promoted for was canceled. The date wasn't changed. It was the freestyle event was canceled for that weekend.
That I never knew about until now, today.
That was canceled.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you planned something else. Why was that canceled?
Okay, it was canceled due to lack of people. We couldn't get people to go on the ski trip weekend.
Because nobody knows what it is. So then you planned something else.
No, what I did, I put them on a different ski trip for the following weekend.
Without our knowledge.
Well, just a second. You planned something else for them.
I gave them an alternative. I gave them 2 alternatives. I gave them, alternative number 1 was give them their deposit of $250 back.
That's a lie.
Shh.
Or I could put them on the second week.
Just a second. Shh, listen to me. She gave you the $250.
She mailed it to me, the deposit of $250.
Okay. So you had her address.
Yes, I did.
Can I see the letter that you sent her indicating that you were canceling the freestyle weekend, but you were giving her 2 options? Can I see that letter?
There was no letter.
That's all I wanted.
Thank you.
There was no letter. But one way or another, you got on this second weekend that they had planned, you and 4 friends.
Me and 3 other girls.
You and 3 other girls.
One was soon to be my sister-in-law.
Please, I don't need that information.
Okay.
I have a very, very busy day today. And you say it was a trip from hell.
It was a disaster.
Can I see the ad for the weekend?
The original that I picked up?
The original.
This is the original.
That's the only one that he's got? Because...
No, I received the second one.
Oh, you did receive it?
At the hotel.
Oh, okay. Not before you went?
Not before I went.
Okay. So tell me, now this looks like a very nice promotion.
Yes.
This is what you've sent out, right?
Yes, I was still promoting for that, yes.
Good. And what you're suing for, sir, is she stopped payment on the $940.
Yes, she did, and I have the check right here.
I believe you. She doesn't deny it. She says that it was a disaster. So I'm going to hear her. Okay. Tell me why it was a disaster.
Okay. Prior to leaving for the trip, Brian changed the dates on us 1 week in advance.
You went. You didn't have to go.
Okay.
You went.
We went to the bus location with him saying that he was going to meet us there Friday evening at about 6 p.m. with about 4 or 5 buses waiting to hurl 500 people up to this freestyle music weekend. There's no Brian. There's only 2 buses. We were not on any kind of list, my name or any of the girls that were with me, to get on the bus. We had to sit there and talk to people that did not know who we were.
So
what we
you first had a problem with the
getting on
organization.
bus. Right.
You finally got on a bus.
We finally got on a bus. The minute we sat down, we smelled marijuana. We refused to sit on a bus with marijuana for our health reasons, and we weren't planning this kind of ghetto weekend. We were trying to go away to have a nice weekend trip. And this was not something that I would ever be interested in.
Okay.
So we complained. They opened up the vent on the bus and sprayed air freshener. I walked right off the bus with the 3 girls.
Okay.
Called my husband, called Brian. He did not pick up his cell phone. He didn't show up.
What did you do next?
I complained to the bus drivers. I complained to the other promoters who never heard of me, who didn't even know who Brian was, and they told us to
get on another bus.
They made us get on another bus. Correct.
Was that bus okay?
That bus had a lot of drinking and cursing. It was better than the marijuana, but it was not acceptable once we were en route.
Did you get to where you were going?
We did, without being able to use the bathroom, all three girls.
When you got to where you were going, tell me about the accommodations that you had.
We walked in. People from the first bus were mimicking, saying things to us because we complained about the pot smoking. They were saying we were troublemakers.
I'm not interested in what they were saying about you. I'm interested in the accommodations.
Okay, well, the accommodations was a room that, had 2 double beds. We were, all 4 girls staying in the same room together.
Did you stay?
We stayed in the hotel room with the doors locked, towels under the door because of the marijuana.
You stayed in the hotel?
Correct, we did.
Why didn't you go home?
I had no way of getting home. He came and picked me up, and he cut his bachelor party short because he was in Atlantic City with my brother and the rest of the guys. And he had to drive over 3 hours to come pick me up, and we had to go home with him squished like sardines in a truck, 4 girls and suitcases and everything, because we refused to get back on the bus with the people that was ghetto that we would not want to be around. Going home another 3 hours. We were not allowed to use the bathroom in the bus unless we took alcohol shots from strangers. It's ridiculous.
Listen to me. I don't understand.
You find it funny. I don't think it's funny.
Miss Moranti, listen to me.
You weren't there.
Miss Moranti, listen to me. I don't understand why you would stay in the hotel.
Well,
But she's lying, Your Honor.
I'm lying? You weren't even there.
No.
Okay.
Mr. Mann, listen, if you can't behave yourself, that's not going to bode well for your success in this case. Do you understand?
Yes,
Were you supposed to be on this trip, Mr. Mann?
I was going, originally I was going to go, but I'm in the National Guard and I had drill that weekend.
Show me. I believe you're in the National Guard. Show me that you were on a drill that weekend.
My drill assembly schedule was at home, but I let Joanne know and I let Liz know.
No, you did not.
Just a second. Did you tell them before you took their money that you weren't going to be there?
I told them when they came to make the final payment that I wasn't going to be there.
That's a lie. I never made final
Just a second.
She never made final payment with me. Liz came to my place of business and was going to make final payment, and that's when I let them know that the ski trip was canceled, and I would give them 2 options. Option number 1, I'll give them back the deposit.
How much profit did you make on this, sir?
I made $50 off each girl, so I made $200.
And you were the subcontractor?
I was the sub-promoter, yes.
Because you said, I'll get a certain number of bodies for you to go.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
That's how it works, yes.
Did you explain that to Miss Moranti, that you were not promoting this, that you were
I told her I was a sub-promoter. The main promoter is on top of the flyer.
And he wasn't there.
Just a second. All I want to know is, did you tell Miss Moranti that this was not something that you were organizing and promoting?
Yes.
You were merely saying that, is that right?
Yes.
No, he told me he was a promoter, and his phone number's on that card.
If you're going to be fixed with what's in your head and not listen to my question, you're not helping yourself.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't hear or understand.
Because you're not listening, you have to put on your listening ears.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You have a counterclaim for your pain and suffering. And right now, what you're being to me is a pain. And I'm suffering.
And later today,
What a con artist. I mean, does she think that we're stupid, that she's going to be able to resolve this issue with those kind of answers?
Hope springs eternal.
Sit down, April.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Promoter Brian Manthorn says former client Joanne Morante owes for the balance on a weekend ski trip. Joanne says the trip was unsafe.
Did the plaintiff ever tell you that he was not in charge of promoting this event?
No, he didn't.
Listening ears, that somebody else was in charge of promoting this event, and all he was doing was providing bodies at $50 a person.
No, he didn't.
Of course not. Don't fib to me, sir.
Your Honor.
Listen to me. Did you tell her that this was not your gig, that you didn't know anything about it, but that you were getting $50 a head for every person that you brought in?
I didn't tell her what I was getting. I told her that I was sub-promoting. Yes, I did. I didn't tell her that I was
You're a
tell her what I was
Swiftie.
making.
I don't believe you. Did he tell you that?
No.
Of course not. I don't believe you. That's a fib.
Thank you.
Well, Your Honor, I also have a tape. She's claiming something about the bus ride. I also have a tape that Liz left on my voicemail message about the bus ride. Can I play it?
Absolutely.
Save voice message.
Hey, what's up? Just wanted to call you that,
Is that
now
Liz?
we've been happy. They changed us bus, which is
Yeah.
much better than what we were before. And what I was trying to say before is, like, it was really, really ghetto, and
See?
I kind of just felt like weed and stuff. It was like, I don't know. But now they changed us to another bus, so much better. So we're, like, more happier. So if anything, I'll talk to you. Sorry, bye.
That's exactly what she said.
Yes, and that was
She
before.
said that the second bus. She said the second bus. She had the drink and everything like that.
That's correct. She used the bathroom.
She
How
said
ghetto.
the second bus was better. Why should she have to tolerate the first bus?
Absolutely, I agree with her 100%.
Good. Then you get nothing. Stick with what you know, sir. Sounds to me like she had a horror show of a weekend. It was so bad that she wouldn't return on the bus back home, and she asked her husband, who will vouch for that, I assume, to cut his weekend short. to come and pick up the 4 girls because they were so put off by what was going on with the bus that they didn't want to take the bus home. Why do you think she would do that if it wasn't miserable?
Because she calls me a con artist.
You are.
Okay, if I'm such a con
You
artist,
are. You
if I'm such a,
you are.
Your Honor, if I'm such a con artist, if I'm such a con artist, then when she wrote me these checks, I would have cashed them the day of.
That's your problem.
I never
tell
did
her
that.
when to cash the checks.
She
Your
did.
counterclaim's dismissed.
She absolutely did. She said.
Do you understand?
I guess.
You guess. You know why?
No.
Very easy. Because you have a counterclaim for your pain and suffering. And
And
right
false
now what you're being to me is a pain. And I'm suffering. Because I already told you that this is a court. And in a court, when I look at you, you testified he was quiet. So your counterclaim is dismissed. That's your punishment.
It's a big punishment.
It is. It absolutely is. So you got $250 deposit. That check went through. Is that right?
Yes, it went through.
You
because
got $50 a person for how many people?
For 4 people.
That's $200. That's $450. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
How much money are you out?
I'm out $940 minus 200.
That's right.
That'd be 7.
That's what you're out. Don't do it again. Stick with what you know. If you con somebody into thinking that they're going to have a great weekend and they have a miserable weekend, there has to be consequences. That's your consequence. $750. Your counterclaim's dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Brian's a con artist. He got what he deserved.
Outrage that somebody can pay for something, spend the whole entire weekend, and still get away with not paying for it.
It was just horrible. It was terrible. There was marijuana going on.
Marijuana use is illegal. She had a choice to get off that bus.
It was out of control, ghetto, something that I would never take part of.
When she seen that it was so ghetto, quote unquote, she could have left. She chose to keep going.
He deceived me from the beginning.
Stay away from prissy girls like that.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Liebhardt versus Malone. Step forward.
19-year-old student Angela Liebhardt is suing her ex-boyfriend, automotive technician Michael Malone, for the return of her furniture and for throwing away her computer. Michael says the computer had a virus.
Miss Liebhardt, you and the defendant lived together for a brief period of time and claimed that when you moved out, you left some of your stuff there for the defendant to store. You don't want it back anymore. And then there was a computer that Mr. Malone says he got tired of storing and it was broken anyway, so he threw it out. Okay. When did you meet him?
I met him in December of '03.
Where?
At a bar that a friend of mine owns.
How soon did you move in with him?
It was almost immediately.
What does that mean? I mean, that night, the next day?
It was probably about a week or so.
What made you make such a precipitous move?
It was an error in judgment.
Okay. What did you bring with you?
I brought my bed with me. Things were given to me during the relationship. The computer was given to me approximately a month before we broke up.
By whom?
My grandmother.
Was it a new computer?
Yes, brand new.
How old were you when you moved in with him?
18.
How old are you?
29.
29. All right. When you moved out in June?
Yep.
Under what circumstances?
He told me to leave.
Did he say why?
We were done.
You weren't getting along anymore?
Yeah.
Why did you leave the computer?
I was leaving town for a few days and I asked him if it was okay if I left my stuff there for a few days. He told me it was all right. I could leave it there as long as I needed. And I've attempted to get it back on numerous occasions. And he's never there.
Well, after you left in June, when was the first time that you attempted to get your computer and furniture back?
It was 3 days after I moved out.
Tell me what you did.
I called him up and he wasn't home. And I told him that that's when I would be back in town, is in 3 days.
So you called him up, he wasn't home?
Yes.
So, what'd you do next?
I waited a few days and called him again.
And did you speak to him?
I made an appointment to go and get my stuff with him.
So that was about, let's say, a week later, you made an appointment to go and get your stuff?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Are you making it up as you're going along, or is that the truth as you
That's the
remember it?
truth.
Angela Liebhardt says ex-boyfriend Michael Malone threw away her computer. Michael says the computer was junk.
Step up. What is your last name?
Renee Williams.
Okay, Miss Williams, when for the first time did you contact Mr. Malone?
I started attempting to call him in October.
Did you ever speak to him?
There was a couple times. One time we set a time to meet. At that time he had...
To meet to do what?
So that I could get Angela's stuff for her.
What furniture is there?
There is like a china cabinet and like a hutch type thing, like a buffet
Something that's
type
wooden?
thing. Yes, 2 wooden things.
Okay. Where are her 2 wooden chests that she has?
They're in the back room of my house.
Okay, you have no objection if she comes and gets those, do you?
No, not at all.
Good. 5 days from today, you may bring a peace officer if you wish. There'll be an order. Those 2 items are to be in the front of the house. Do you understand?
Yes.
5 days from today, 9 a.m. You'll get a formal order of that. With regard to the computer, sir, you're going to have to convince me why you don't owe her $1,073.67 for the computer.
At first I had no problem with them getting the computer. Then the computer broke, and we were getting ready to move, and it was junk to me. I've had them say, you can come get it, you can do whatever.
Well, at that point it was junk, sir, because if you were using it, and if it broke while you were using it, you're responsible for it.
He didn't say that we could come get it. First he told her that it was at his mom's, then his wife told me that it was stolen, and now he's saying that it's junk.
Step up! Your name?
April Malone.
April? Mm-hmm. Did you ever tell Miss Williams that the computer was stolen?
Yes, that's what I had known that it was. I didn't know that.
What do you mean you had known? That's what you had known that it was. Explain that to me.
I was told that it was stolen. I didn't know that it was broken.
Who told you that it was stolen?
Some of his family members.
What about him? You didn't ask him?
No.
You didn't say to your husband what happened to you? His family members told you it was stolen? April, look at me. She says to you, where's the computer? You say to her, it's stolen.
I don't know anything about the computer. To my knowledge, I knew it was stolen.
Well, just a second. You're living with your husband, right, April?
Yes.
So it had to be your husband that told you it was stolen.
I don't know anything about this. I don't know anything about this relationship.
Are you listening to what I'm saying? I'm not asking you about relationship. Pay careful attention. You don't get off the hook, because I shake it until I get the truth. That if you told her the computer is stolen, you got that from your husband.
I'm not sure who I got it from. I tried resolving this problem. I offered to claim it on our home insurance policy. I called them, and I had called my father-in-law because I did not know who the insurance policy was through. I still don't.
So what did you do? You called your father-in-law and said, I want to know who our insurance carrier is, right?
Yes, I tried that.
What do you mean you tried? So did you get an answer?
No, I did not.
Why didn't you get an answer? They don't want to talk to you?
My father-in-law is only home like once a week. He travels.
God. What a con artist. I mean, does she think that we're stupid, that she's going to be able to resolve this issue with those kind of answers?
Hope springs eternal.
Sit down, April. Does it embarrass you to stand up in front of 10 million people and appear to be so foolish?
No.
How many children? Let me ask you a question. How many children do you have?
I don't have any children.
Try keeping it that way.
I plan on it.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,073.67. 5 days from today, you can go get your property. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I tried to get my
manager Kimberly Kayla for having her falsely arrested for an assault. Kimberly is countersuing, claiming Alice broke her arm.
All rise. Yeah, this is case number 22 on the calendar in the matter of Moore versus Kayla.
Thank you, Bert.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Ooh, family that certainly does not get along well. Miss Moore, the defendant is your niece.
Yes, ma'am.
And it is your claim that she had you falsely arrested for assaulting her last year during the time that your mother was ill and dying.
Yes, ma'am.
You went through a trial recently and were acquitted.
Yes,
found
ma'am.
not guilty, and you're suing her for the false arrest and for the year that you spent facing these charges. The defendant says that the charges were true and that she is counterclaiming for her injuries. Her injuries, I believe, were broken arm.
Yes, ma'am.
When was your mother ill last year?
My mother became ill early in January, but she really got bad in March of, it was 2003.
And when did this incident occur with your niece?
March the 10th, after I flew to Texas to be beside my mother who was dying at her home.
So you tell me your version of what happened, what led up to this incident.
Saturday afternoon, my sister, Brenda, had instructed me to give medication to my mother every 4 hours without stopping. And it put my mother in a very...
What kind of medicine was it?
One was a morphine and the other one was for anxiety.
Did your mother have cancer?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of cancer did she have?
Cancer of the liver.
So the morphine was prescribed to keep her calm.
Yes, ma'am, but on the prescription of the bottle it says every 4 hours as needed. And my question was, that night she was totally out of it, and my brother he was there that night, and he had to pick my mother up out of the bed because she could not move at all. And we did not give her the medication every 4 hours like my sister had instructed, and I had asked my other sister in the morning about the medication.
So that caused a problem with your niece?
They were all upset because I would not give the medication like that. But anyway, Sunday night I left and went out to another sister's house to rest.
And when I came that morning on Monday, my daughter and I came back in the afternoon, and I come to the conclusion I couldn't handle seeing my mother's death.
Okay.
Because of my heart condition and my nerves.
Okay, you couldn't handle it. Okay.
And I was talking to my husband on the phone, and I told him he could reach me. I was on the porch, and I told him he could reach me out at my other sister's. Brenda got mad at me, and I don't want to have a consultation with my mother dying.
Why was she angry with you? What was she saying?
She just felt that I was there trying to take over, and she was already had said that she was going to come out there and whip on me on Monday, and I didn't pay any attention to that in a phone call that we had.
Was that over the medication?
Yes.
Is that so far, is that right?
No, ma'am.
Okay, step up. Brenda, what were you angry about?
I wasn't angry with her. I was actually relieved that she was there to help us, because we had had 3 months prior of taking care of my mother. Everybody was stressed out. It was a bad time. My sister had called me and she told me that the hospice people had told her not to give my mother the medication except when she needed it. I told her specifically, Alice, when you're there, you do what you need to do. I told her I was calling a meeting with the hospice people on Monday. The whole family would be there. We could all understand. I learned more about death than I ever wanted to know with my mother. And I didn't want to go through this by myself. I wanted my sisters there. I wanted help. Right. So when we asked for a meeting, she said 10 o'clock. My sister couldn't be there. She was so concerned about my mother and the medication, but she couldn't be there to see what the hospice people. We were doing exactly what they said. Exactly what they said.
Which is medicating her every 4 hours and not letting the pain grab hold of her.
Right.
Well,
Right. That's exactly how they explained it to her,
Right.
to us. You know, when the pain kicks in, this is how she's going to be. Don't let the
Don't
pain
let it
come.
get there.
You know,
Right.
we'd been there with her. We didn't want to let the pain come. Nobody, you know, she was going to die. We knew that. We wanted it to be peaceful.
I got it.
And that was my mother's wish, to die at home.
Kim, tell me what happened in the kitchen on the 10th of March.
Well, I was in the bedroom with my grandmother, and I heard them in the kitchen. And she's telling her, you know, you took her out of the nursing home. You shouldn't have took her out of the nursing home. She's going to die. She's going to bleed. You know, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. And they were telling her, then leave. You know, that's fine. If you can't take it,
Put your hand down, Miss
leave.
Moore.
You know. And when I looked outside, she was slapping at my mother. And another one of my aunts stepped in. Well, she grabbed her and she threw her down to the floor. Alice threw my other aunt down to the floor. Her name was Billy.
Go ahead.
And then of course, I had walked in there in the middle of this, and my brother walked in, and she started screaming at my brother. And she was screaming obscenities that you would not believe. And she was, you know, then she started out the door, and my brother went out after her. Well, I went out after him. Then she coming out there, and she's telling me, you know, we need to just call an ambulance for Billy, you know, we need to just go. So I'm going back in the house, and I get the phone to call the police. And as I walk back outside, because I'm hearing screaming now back at the porch. And I'm like, well, I thought she was going to leave. She wasn't leaving. And it's because her daughter over there was telling her, you don't have to leave. They can't make you leave. This is your mama's house. You don't have to leave. You know, her daughter was put in the quarter. And she knows if you push her, she's going to lose it. You know, she has a history of violence and just psychotic behavior. And I look at her and I tell her, just go, just get that out of here. You know, that's why I told her, just get that. And I'm pointing at her, and as I'm pointing at her, she grabs this arm, and she pulls me down. Her daughter steps between us, and she popped my arm down over her daughter's shoulder. It broke this bone up here into pieces. They had to go in and put a rod, you know, have a permanent rod in the middle of my bone.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I was leaving and they attacked me. They didn't take my statement. The police didn't let me give a statement. My lawyer will testify to that. Why don't you call her?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Alice Moore says her niece, Kimberly Kayla, had her falsely arrested for an assault. Kimberly says during an argument, Alice broke her arm.
What happened to Billy?
Billy was taken to the hospital also, and she had some sciatic nerve damage in her back.
She was taken to the hospital that day?
Yes. Okay. But Billy and I were both taken to the same hospital in the same ambulance.
What hospital?
To Spine Memorial Hospital.
Do you have a police report for me, please?
Yes.
It's right there.
Okay, Ms. Moore, coming back to you. Now we're going to come to the point in this story where you're going to tell me your version of how her arm got broken.
Well, first of all, there was a consultation in the house, and Brenda held me and Kim, and I have a sworn testimony from the court where my attorney said, "And you slapped her?" And she said, "Yes." At that time, she hit me.
Just a second. Who slapped you?
Kim hit me in the face with the telephone while my sister held me in the kitchen and would not let me leave.
Let me see the testimony. Oh, well, she says, "Do you remember slapping Alice?" She said, "Yeah, I told you in the kitchen when she was pulling my hair and we were going back and forth." "And you slapped her?" "Yes."
But Judge, I could not be pulling her hair.
Just a minute. Don't explain. You have to read me the whole thing, Miss Moore.
Okay.
She didn't just admit slapping you. She said you were pulling her hair and you were going back and forth and she slapped you.
At the time she slapped me, I had my hands restrained by my sister Brenda.
I would like you to tell me how her arm got broken.
Well, from there, I went outside and was leaving. At that time, her brother stopped me from going to the car. He pounced over the porch and pulled his hand back to hit me. And you're looking at a guy, I wouldn't take my eyes off because he lifts weight and he could have killed me. And he said all kinds of things to me as I was trying to leave. My daughter stood in between us to stop it.
Okay, so your daughter got in between you and her brother.
Right.
Okay.
And as I was looking for my granddaughter, Kim.
Just a second. If your daughter got in between the two of you, why didn't you go back to your car?
I was going, but my granddaughter had the keys to my car.
Where were you looking for her?
Right there in front of my mother's house.
Well, you just have to look. How old is your granddaughter? Is she a little teeny girl?
Yes.
How old is she?
I thought she was about 11 or 12. That's what she looks like.
How old?
She just turned 18, Judge.
So she was 16 at the time?
15. She hadn't turned 16 yet.
15 at the time. Well, you're not looking for her on the ground, madam. Listen to me. If you're looking for your granddaughter who's outside, and the people who are outside, according to you, your nephew, and your daughter, that's 3 people. That's who you told me were outside, and you were looking for your granddaughter around that area. That
and Kim came off the porch, charged off the porch with something and hit me in the face, and I could not see. I put my hands up, and I have pictures of where she hit me in the head, and I couldn't see at that time.
Just a second. Hold on a second. Show me the pictures that you have. I don't see anything wrong with your head now.
I had a goose egg right here.
Not according to the police report.
The police did not come and check me out at all or anything. I went to the hospital, to the emergency room.
Let me see the medical records from the hospital. According to the police report, when they spoke to you, there was nothing wrong with you, except you were complaining of chest pains. That's according to 2 police officers. Listen to me. That's what the police said. You complained of. Not a goose egg on your head, not being hit on your head. They took you to the hospital for observation. Listen to me. Because of the chest pains. What I want you to do is give me the hospital record.
I don't have that part.
Well,
I could not get that part in time for court today.
Well, that's unfortunate because you've had over a year to get that hospital record. Who are you?
I'm her husband, Your Honor.
Were you there?
I talked to her at 7 o'clock.
He was on the phone when I went in to tell her I was leaving.
She was leaving.
Were you there?
No, I wasn't.
My daughter Frankie was there.
Oh, I believe Frankie was there. You can step up, Frankie. I believe you were there.
Yes, ma'am.
How did your cousin's arm get broken?
By her brother yanking her arms. When she had my mother's head, she grabbed my mother by her left, with Kim's left hand, by her hair, yanked her head over where she's completely bent over. My mother's face is touching the cement. Kim's brother runs from behind Kim and grabs Kim with his arms like this, and he's pulling her, and she's hitting my mother upside the head with a cordless phone in her right hand, and I grab at the phone, and Scott is pulling Kim at both of her arms backwards. No one touched her arms except for her own brother.
Okay, fine. You can sit down. It's very unfortunate when everybody gets stressed out in a situation where...
What was unfortunate?
I'm speaking. very unfortunate when people get stressed and angry because somebody who's close to them is dying. And put the picture down, madam. Pay attention to me. The first mistake that you made was not listening. Your mother was dying of liver cancer. The instructions that you were given to give her morphine every 4 hours were the appropriate instructions. I am not a medical person, but unfortunately I have been in situations where I know that you're not supposed to wait until you are in pain as needed when you are dying. You're supposed to keep medicated so that the pain of liver cancer doesn't take hold. So these people were taking care of your mother for months before you got there. And then you pay attention, try to get it through. And then you come to the scene and decide, this isn't right. The medication says as needed. I'm not going to give her the medication every 4 hours. And everybody is annoyed at that situation because you're sort of a Johnny-come-lately. They've been there for months taking care of the situation, making decisions without you. They took care of, they were the ones who were up at night, they were the ones who were feeding, and all of a sudden you show up and decide to change the rules. Big mistake. You weren't saving your mother's life, Miss Moore. She was going to die. I'm speaking. She was going to die anyway. The question was she going to die peacefully and not in pain ever? Or whether you were going to try, your method of treatment was let her get a little bit uncomfortable and then we'll give her the medication as needed. Unfortunately, you made a mistake in your choice. I do not believe your daughter when your daughter says that you were beaten over the head with a phone, because there is nothing in any of the official records, including hospital records, which you had every opportunity to get over the last year and a half, that suggests that when you were admitted to the hospital for your chest pains, they noted bruising and swelling on your head that would be consistent with your being hit over the head repeatedly, according to you, and according to your daughter, with a cell phone. So I do not believe you were falsely charged. And I believe you broke her arm.
Oh, ma'am,
I believe that you... I'm speaking.
I did not. I was leaving and they attacked me. Okay. That's all I was doing was leaving.
You may have convinced you, Miss Moore.
I didn't care about what medicine they gave Mother. They attacked me. They didn't take my statement. The police didn't let me give a statement. My lawyer will testify to that. Why don't you call her?
Listen to me. I don't want to go any further with this, Miss Moore, because
I'm speaking.
I'm speaking. I'm speaking. Speak.
I swear I did not.
Listen to me very carefully.
Where's the Bible? I took a lie detector's test even, and I did not touch them.
Your case is dismissed. Did you have any unreimbursed medical bills?
Yes, ma'am.
What were they? Unreimbursed medical bills.
I have $7,000 right here.
Judgment for the defendant on the counterclaim in the amount of $5,000. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused and they step out.
Ashley Weiss is suing her ex-fiancé, 20-year-old parking attendant David Sellers, for a cell phone bill. David says he let Ashley keep the engagement ring.
Order. All rise. That's case number 18 on count in the matter of Weiss versus Sellers. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats.
Miss Weiss, you and Mr. Sellers were engaged to be married. You are no longer engaged. You are no longer involved. You claim he owes you some money.
Yes.
Mr. Sellers says he owes you absolutely nothing. And if you think he owes you some money, sell the engagement ring. Right?
Okay.
Good. When did you become engaged?
In December of 2004.
Just in my own curiosity, when did you buy her the ring?
In December.
What kind of a ring did you buy her?
Engagement ring.
Cheap one.
Well, let me see it.
You want to see it?
Wearing it, I wouldn't.
Little ring.
What?
Can I have a tissue, please?
Why, who's chewing gum? Both of them?
You gonna give me a piece of tissue or what? Thank you. You got gum? Cool.
Thank you.
All right. Here you are.
Thank you. Oh, that's a very sweet ring. Tell me about when he gave you the ring.
He proposed to me on Christmas and asked me to marry him. He just said, "Will you marry me?" And just gave me the ring.
He handed you the box?
Yes.
When you opened it up, were you excited? Is not an answer.
No, I was not.
I was hesitant and felt uncomfortable since he did it in front of his family, and I felt like I didn't have a choice of whether to say. Felt pressured to marry him.
Well, did you wear the ring on New Year's Eve?
I did.
Were you still with his family?
Yes.
Did you wear the ring until you broke up?
I took it off once I got home.
When did you get home?
I think it was January 4th.
When did you break up?
A couple weeks after. He wanted me to move with him to Oklahoma, drop out of school, and start a family with him, and work part-time for the rest of my life. And I decided that wasn't.
That wouldn't have been very smart.
Yeah.
Mr. Sellers, for her to do that. How much did you pay for this ring?
$750.
You know he's entitled to the ring back, don't you?
Yes. He told me, I asked him, and he said I could keep it. But I think it's only fair if I give him his ring back, I get my money that he owes me.
Well, is that right?
Yes.
Hey! Look at this happy ending.
I know.
Well, so that would be wonderful, right? You wouldn't mind if you got back the ring and let's say you could sell it. She's claiming a loan, $300 loan because you went to Oklahoma. Is that where you live?
Yes.
It's her claim that this was a loan that she gave you to go to Oklahoma so that you could buy clothes and traveling expenses and that sort of thing. And you said, well, you went together. You both spent money.
Yes.
Is that right?
No.
He didn't spend any money?
No, he got kicked out of the Navy, so therefore he had no money because he was broke.
Well, where did he get the money for the ring?
That's from his old checks, like his previous checks, and he stopped getting paid once he got kicked out.
When did you get kicked out of the Navy?
December before.
How come?
Drug use.
Went AWOL.
Didn't like the Navy anymore?
Dishonorable.
Okay. Would you kindly give him back the ring? Now you have the ring. And you can sell it, right?
Yes.
Now, telephone.
Yes.
Let me hear about the telephone.
He didn't have any money. He said he needed a phone. I bought him a brand new phone. He said, I promise I will pay you back. I will pay for the bills once I get my feet on the ground and start getting a job in Oklahoma.
Did you get your feet on the ground?
Kind of.
What do you mean, kind of?
I had a part-time job.
So he never got his act together.
He did actually pay the bills for the first couple of months, but then stopped paying them.
And he canceled the service.
Yes, he changed, which also added a deactivation fee because he had to switch. He switched the telephone company.
How old are you, Miss Weiss?
19.
Who was this gentleman?
This is my father, and that's my classmate, Lorenzo.
I want you to consider yourself very, very fortunate. Because, you know, you could have actually moved to Oklahoma.
I
know. Working part-time, raising a whole mess of kids, no education. Got to look up and say, thank you, God. You were watching over me. All it cost you was a couple of $100.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Did you pay your own phone bill?
For a couple months.
What happened?
Well,
Well is not an answer, Mr. Sellers.
I lost my job and I couldn't pay for it, and I tried to pay half of it, but it was up to $300, and I paid $150 of it. So I just never got around to pay the rest of it.
Well, you think that that's right, or you agreed to pay for it? Hmm?
It's not right.
Now you got the ring. You're going to sell the ring. How much do you owe her for the phone bill that you didn't pay?
I'm not really sure how much exactly.
Well, she's going to tell me. What?
Over $500.
Really? Let me see.
I don't have the bills. I know.
Listen to me, my dear.
Yes.
You filed a complaint in which you say that you loaned him $300 that he used for these travel necessities, which I'm discounting.
Okay.
Put your hand down, sir. You can't help her. She
Sorry,
got
Your
into
Honor.
this mess by herself. She's got to get out of it by herself. Maybe she'll learn a good lesson if she gets out of it by herself. So, you have to get the bills. You don't have the bills. How am I supposed to know? He doesn't know what the phone bill is, and you don't know what the phone bill is. That's the first thing that you know. You come to court, and you're supposed to have evidence. If you don't have evidence, I can't help you. Now, you changed phone carriers.
Yes.
Do you know that there's a penalty for that?
No, I did not know that.
He knew.
What was the fee for disconnecting the service?
$175.
That sounds about right, Bird.
Sounds about right to me.
And I assume, again, you do not have any proof of that. What did you come here with other than your smile?
I don't know.
I don't understand. I really don't understand, Miss Weiss. You want to say something, sir? You're dying to say something, so stand up. I mean, you are the responsible person. You're the person who's been through life, who has certain life experiences. You know when you come to court, you come with...
Evidence, Your Honor.
So?
We attempted to get a copy of the phone bill because of the other party lived in Oklahoma. The phone bill came to Oklahoma and never came to our house in San Diego. There was a $405 balance on the phone and a $175 cancellation fee that Verizon's coming after us for. And we feel that the other party should pay for the phone because he used it.
I absolutely agree with you,
But
sir.
we don't have evidence.
It's the evidence. Now, how much do you believe you owe her on the telephone bill? I'm trying to be as fair to you, Miss Weiss, as I can. You're young, not too swift. How much do you think you owe, Mr. Sellers?
All of it.
How much?
600 and however much.
She didn't say it was $600, Mr. Sellers. I mean, it's absolutely impossible for me to fly blind. You said the phone bill was $500. He said, I owe all of it $600. I mean, it's stupid. It just changed. Take the ring out of your pocket. Then you put it in the other pocket. Dig deeper. Bird, would you give her back the ring, please? Just changed my mind. Now, Miss Weiss, this is what you're going to do. He got taken when he spent $700 for that ring, but there's no question in my mind that you could probably sell it for $3. So sell the ring. I'm going to give you $250 in addition to the ring to help defray the cost of this phone bill. Do you understand?
Yes.
Is that fair, sir?
Yes.
Perfect. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He's broke, no education, no job. Basically, what was there good about it?
We really don't talk to each other anymore.
He's stupid.
She agreed to it. It's her idea too.
Don't be nice and don't help out someone when they're not going to help you out.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter, Whitmer versus Griffin. Step forward, please.
28-year-old hairdresser Lori Whitmer is suing her ex-boyfriend, ambulance builder Dewan Griffin, for loans to pay his court fines and to reinstate his driver's license.
Miss Whitmer, it is your claim that Mr. Griffin owes you some money for court-related matters.
That is correct.
Mr. Griffin says that everything that you ever gave him, they were gifts.
Gifts.
Gave him, and there were no loans. There was never any intention to repay you, nor an agreement to repay you. When did you meet him?
December 2003 through some friends of mine at a party that we were having.
And when did you make the first loan?
Well, we were seeing each other up until September of 2004. We were still talking, you know, on an on-off basis, and then I got a call.
So you were casually seeing each other? You never lived together? There was never any discussion of marriage? It was just a casual relationship?
Yes.
Okay. September 2004.
I had gotten a call. He was locked up in jail.
For what?
For driving without a license.
You were locked up for driving without a license, Mr. Griffin?
Yes, ma'am.
How long were you locked up?
5 months.
Shh. Please. Mr. Griffin, that's impossible, sir.
It's not impossible. That's why I was there.
Well, why don't you tell me the story of how you got locked up for 5 months for driving without a license?
Well, I had warrants for tickets that I hadn't paid.
Ah, now we're getting somewhere. So you had outstanding warrants for what kinds of tickets?
Driving without a license.
How many, please? I don't want to have to say it again. Don't make my job any more difficult. How many times were you stopped for driving without a license, Mr. Griffin?
Maybe 3, 4.
You don't learn?
Yeah, I do learn. I have a driver's license now since I got out.
Well, how old were you the first time you got stopped for driving without a license?
19.
And why didn't you have a license?
Because they were suspended.
What was the reason your license was suspended?
Because I had a speeding ticket that I didn't pay.
All right. You see how we're going to get to this? You see how we're understanding each other now, Mr. Griffin? So you didn't spend 5 months in jail because you were stopped for driving with a suspended license, because they don't do that in this country. They do it, sir, if you get caught 5, 6, 7 times driving without a license, and you've got outstanding warrants for speeding tickets which you didn't pay, and outstanding warrants for the other driving while suspended that you didn't respond to, then eventually the criminal justice system has it up to here with you. And that's what happened, right?
Right.
Good. So you were an habitual person who flaunted the criminal justice system by not showing up, by not paying your fines, and by continuing to drive without a license.
I wasn't habitual.
Habitual means that you do it all the time, sir, and habitual is what you were.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Why didn't you ask the mother of your children for the money?
Because she has my 2 sons. She needs whatever she already has.
Well, who does she take care of?
She was taking care of me.
Why would she want to take care of you, Mr. Griffin?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lori Whitmer says ex-boyfriend Dewan Griffin owes for loans to pay court fines after his 6th arrest for driving on a suspended license.
Now, how much did you put up for him to get out of jail?
$947.
That was bail?
No, he was in a work release base, so they were taking money out weekly towards those fines, and then this was towards like a one lump sum so that he can get his license back and to get out sooner.
Okay, now I want you to think back when you went to court, because you were picked up on warrants periodically, is that right?
I have been before.
And you remember going before the judge?
Yes.
And you remember telling the judge that you were going to come back to court, you weren't going to warrant anymore, right?
Yeah.
And you remember telling the judge that you wouldn't drive anymore with a suspended license?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
How many times did you tell that to judges when they picked you up?
I said I've been there 3 or 4 times.
So each time you told that to the judge that you were going to report to court, and that was a lie, because you didn't, because you had warrants, right?
Right.
And you said that you would not drive with a suspended license. Is that right?
Yeah.
And you continued to drive with a suspended license, right?
Yep.
So you lied to the judge.
Yeah.
And when you lied to the judge, Mr. Griffin, you had previously raised your right hand and sworn to tell the truth. Is that right?
Right.
But you didn't tell the truth, right?
It wasn't intentional, but that's the way it worked
You mean
out.
somebody drugged you and put you behind the wheel of a car, Mr. Griffin?
No.
You mean at the time that you made the statements to the court, you intended to keep your promise?
Yes.
But some little men that play in your head, you know, they forced you to get behind the wheel of a car and break your promise.
I had to go to work. I had no other way to get there. I have kids to take care of.
You have children to take care of. Do you live with your children?
No.
How many children do you have?
2.
How old are they?
6 and 7.
And you pay child support, sir?
Yep.
How much child support do you pay?
$77 a week.
They take it out of your salary?
Yep.
When you were in jail for 5 months on work release, how much did they take out of your salary for child support?
They didn't, but
Right. So for 5 months, your kids sort of went on hiatus.
No. I was out every day. I paid myself. I gave money to my children's mom.
How much did you give them?
Probably $2,000, $3,000.
You believe that?
I don't know.
Mr. Griffin, there is no question that Miss Whitmer bailed you out so that you could get out. And then she gave you some more money. How much more money did she give you, Mr. Griffin?
$600 maybe.
How much?
$390.
And what was that for, Miss Whitmer?
To help him reinstate his license.
And how did that come about that he needed another $390?
March 3rd, he came to my job. He was dropped off, and he asked me if I would drive him to go to this insurance company to reinstate it.
What did you go to her for?
She offered to pay it for me.
When had you called her to tell her you were coming, and could she make a gift to you of this $390? When had you called her?
She'd known for months that
Don't tell me what she knew. I asked you when you called her, because you wouldn't have gone there, sir.
that morning.
Did he call you that morning?
I believe so that morning, but I didn't know he was coming to my job.
What did he say when he called you in the morning?
That he was wanting to go take his test and just the appointment times and stuff like that, but he didn't say he was being dropped off to go and reinstate it.
He didn't say anything about money?
Not that I recall, no.
When you got there, Mr. Griffin, to her job, she drove you to pay this money?
Yeah, but to say that I just came there and out of the blue sprung up, I need some money when we're at the insurance company, that's not the way it happened.
Well, tell me how it happened, Mr. Griffin.
She knew I didn't have all the money. I called her and told her.
What did you call her and tell her for?
Because she was willing to help me pay it.
No. Why did you call her and tell her?
Because I needed more money.
Why didn't you get another job?
Why didn't I get another job?
That was my question.
I didn't need another job.
You did need another job if you didn't have more money.
I didn't need another job because she was willing to pay for it.
Why didn't you ask the mother of your children for the money? She's closer to you. You made 2 babies with her.
Because she has my 2 sons, she needs whatever that she already has.
Well, who does she take care of?
She was taking care of me.
Why would she want to take care of you, Mr. Griffin?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Who do you live with?
I take care of my 2 sons and a sick mom of mine.
Just a second. You have 2 children?
2 boys.
How old are they?
5 and 2.
Mr. Griffin, are you a lowlife?
No way.
Yes, you are. Mr. Griffin.
Yes.
Let me tell you why you're a lowlife. Because you just said to me, Mr. Griffin, the mother of my 2 children needs all the money that she can get because she takes care of my 2 children.
What's wrong
So
with that?
that's why I'm not calling her. Why do you think, sir, that this young lady who has 2 children needs money any less than the mother of your 2 children?
Because she was always willing to give it to me.
You're a lowlife.
I'm not.
You are.
I'm not.
And a taker. And I don't see what she sees in you, sir. Certainly it's very well hidden to me. But you owe her $1,337 because she bailed you out. Next time, if you need money, Mr. Griffin, get another job. You're supposed to do the right thing, and you're not supposed to take advantage of people. Do I make myself clear, sir?
Sure.
Good. That's all.
लाइटरूम का ब्लैक प्रीसेट आपकी फोटो पर कैसे लगेगा?
आपने जाना है लाइट के ऑप्शन में एक्सपोजर बढ़ा देना है, कंट्रास्ट बढ़ा देना है, हाइलाइट्स कम कर देना है, शेडोज बढ़ा देना है, वाइट्स कम कर देने और ब्लैक्स बढ़ा देने हैं। फिर जाना है कलर के ऑप्शन में, मिक्स में जाना है, सब कलर्स की सैचुरेशन 0 कर देनी है सिवाय ऑरेंजिस कलर के और रेड कलर के। फिर आपने ऑरेंजिस कलर की लुमिनेंस बढ़ा देनी है और रेड कलर की सैचुरेशन थोड़ी सी बढ़ा देनी है। फिर आपने वापस आना है, वाइब्रेंस थोड़ी सी कम कर देनी है और सैचुरेशन थोड़ी सी कम कर देनी है। फिर इफेक्ट्स के ऑप्शन में आना है, क्लैरिटी बढ़ा देनी है, वाइनेट कम कर देना है। फिर डिटेल के ऑप्शन में जाना है, शार्पनिंग बढ़ा देनी है, मास्किंग बढ़ा देनी है। लास्ट में आपने कर्व के ऑप्शन में जाना है, तीनों हाइलाइट, शैडोज और मिड टोन्स तीनों डॉट्स को नीचे कर देना है आपने। आपकी फोटो पर ब्लैक फिल्टर अप्लाई हो जाएगा।